Not to go, if your relatives and get all political about it, but are on the web, these stores,
I know Moses isn't, and I would think Norma is not.
National park.
Oh, that's right, Tom has another one, right?
Yeah. No,
Concern or respect for them, so
in the concern and respect for a lot.
that's true.
But you and I are gonna go out drinking when they're away, right?
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say, if you're a bachelor.
You don't get all gas.
No, not right now. She really, I mean, we've just been so fortunate. Really, she's high risk. So just fine. I mean, she's actually her phone.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, she's got some stuff that she said when she was a kid.
Just go wrap those tracks out to the south.
They're back, they wouldn't have old diesel in kind of lost their fire, was in town, but this morning I came
Sean, how we doing, okay?
Doing well, Supervisor. How about yourself?
How you doing, all right? Good. How are you? How's that structure? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. How are you?
All right, good to see y'all. Good to see you. How are you? Hey, guy, how are you? How you been, pal?
Yes. Yes, sign-in sheet?
Who's that guy?
I'll watch your stuff.
Huh? Is that the sailor, skier, or what?
Dan, are you okay? Sean, what do you want me to be here, pal?
Supervisor, you're welcome to say wherever you like. I have the, there's seats here. I don't
Is this
anticipate
all right
the
here?
board. Yeah, go for it.
All right.
And my agenda, open up the meeting, welcome, introduce this project, speak very briefly, and then next, Walden. Amazon potential tenant.
How are you?
Thank you. And then, then you're welcome to
All right,
speak.
Bill, you can
And then we'll open it up to. And then beyond that, then we'll go to the virtual people. Briefly address the comments and then at 11 o'clock. I certainly will. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Lisa, I think the board's good.
I'll try.
Lance, how are you, Bill? All right. Good to see you. How are things, my boy? Everything all right?
Yeah.
Hi, Janet.
Oh, he's got the best of both worlds right there. Yeah. I actually.
The chairs are right.
Hey, Mr. Fire. Did they get the masks? Did they get the masks down to you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Go, listen, this shit breaks.
I know that would go Yeah.
Stay out of trouble. Yeah, right. You're right. You're right.
Let's see what you need.
My friend from Hamburg dragged me out.
Yeah, I know.
Once you press that pedal, I wouldn't want to touch it.
No, I'm letting people, keeping people in the waiting room. Or if you want to do it.
That's a good day right there.
Oh, Jesus. Buffalo convention. He represented the band with the Buffalo convention. He was with
Maybe Friday. I'll let you know.
We had a lot of fun.
No, I'm just researching.
Yeah.
In those days, it wasn't expensive.
No, not like today.
We have one here.
They have a half day to get the parents.
And then another meeting.
Oh, down there you.
Oh, yeah, my.
No, I can do
One of
I'm sick of technology, honestly.
Viewers, it's great.
You know, Sanders has his opinions on it, and I agree with him, like, if they could charge more than invest more. I agree. But it's not big.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start rolling people in.
No, I felt that, but I was like, wait, where?
Hello.
Yeah, sign it, sheet right there.
Mary, where's?
Speaker sounds a little better.
Everybody okay?
Hey, Jennifer.
Hi.
What's that? How's it going? It's,
Oh.
it is what it is. Been a good start of the year, great year there last year. I hit my mark, even though with COVID, I didn't think I did it all. I like to say it's my great skill, but we all know that's a bunch of BS.
Sean, what's your password?
Oh, for that?
For tonight.
Oh, for the, let me look, Janet. Let me get you the notice here. Meeting passcode. I don't know if we have a copy of the meeting notice.
I thought I had it right here.
Yeah, is that for, yeah, that's for today. Thank you.
Same as the other.
Yeah. Nice.
You live in the building house.
Thirteen, 11, 9, 4, 3.
Davis? Hey, Davis.
Yeah, I think kind of that's well.
That's all.
Like yourself, you know, sailing, skiing, you just gotta be out. I die, it's not good for back activity.
Ready people signing in?
1:37. As always, around this time of night.
Especially this time of year, Canada's always, right?
Yeah. So how's your studying?
How long? Good. There's other things. I feel like I get lucky.
Okay.
But there's probably someone who do it too.
I don't know if this applies to the bar, but
So I'm
maybe
worried about the essay.
we got a saying. When in doubt, Charlie out.
Yeah.
When in doubt, Charlie out.
I think that the guys that put out the test figured that out because it doesn't seem.
Those sons of pops.
Yeah, so I'm taking it forward. It's actually online, so I don't have to go there, which is nice.
Hey, how are you? Nice to see you.
Which
Magnificent.
we're supposed to
Good
have.
for you.
Gary, do you want me to show you? I can kind of give people shout out.
What do you want?
Wherever
Okay,
you
doors.
want, Bob. Sean's right here.
I'm basically doing.
Door.
You know, I mean, everybody's pretty much.
I went to the care.
And this allows them to unmute themselves.
Just be careful, yeah, test it.
So the only thing
Right now, the
so you can see
website just
here,
says.
spring support people commenting.
We'll see.
Sean is right here. Here, take this off.
This is the first one. So we'll start from there. And then scroll. And this is the waiting room. I'm gonna ask them to unmute themselves.
Hey, Bob.
How are you?
Good. I still recognize you.
Wednesday, Janet, can you get some time?
Jeez, Bob. I'm just trying to be kind. That's my mistake, apparently. Jeez.
So it seems even as though, as I admit them, they would automatically. So they can't unmute themselves. Yes. Hopefully that means if you have
Hey, Sean. 6 o'clock.
Okay, so you kind of got this just to admit as people are rolling in.
I don't know, I like to- I'd rather not get stuck there.
Sitting here, Jen.
I'm not, oh, the supervisor sitting right here.
That's all right. I'm the one.
No, I'm gonna give you your space, boss.
All right, if everyone who has not yet signed in, please do so sign in. You're welcome to take the pen, just for COVID purposes. We have a number of people joining in via Zoom as well. So what we will do, and give it another minute here and then kick off this meeting. And then we'll roll through the agenda here. Mary, can you take to the first slide? Thank you. Yes. Mary was managing to it, so we should be okay. And we put a note. You know, certainly if we're missing, if you see anything. But, The microphone is unmuted, yes, thank you.
Oh, I'm fine. I
A
just.
lot of technology channels here.
Were you out of town on vacation? Just get back?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, good for you.
I quarantined myself.
Oh, good.
At 6:03, we're gonna start going, please. If everybody could please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to thank the public for coming out tonight, both virtually and in person. At this point, I'm going to take roll and I will open our Hamburg Industrial Development Board of Directors meeting. Just a reminder for our board members joining us via Zoom, if you please unmute, roll call, and certainly if you have any comments. Pam Hall.
Here, Sean.
Hutchison here. Janet McGregor-Farr.
Here.
Thomas Moses is excused. Andrew Palmer.
Here.
Davis Pekulski. Here. Robert Reynolds.
Here.
Norma Russert-Kelly. I believe she was on.
I saw her on, Sean.
Norma Russert-Kelly. Monsalvo Valentin.
Wenceslao Valentin III here.
Thank you. Note out to Norma here. Motion to open the February 10th, 2021 Hamburg Industrial Development Agency Board of Directors meeting at 6:05 p.m.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting open. This is the second public hearing and special meeting of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency. Please take notice. The Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency will hold a special meeting with a public hearing to consider the following proposed financial assistance requested of the agency. Bayview Road Associates, LLC, and Amazon.com Services, LLC, also known as the project, request for agency assistance in the form of a lease or lease only with mortgage transaction in the amount not to exceed $6,848,345. This assistance contemplated by the agency will include mortgage tax abatement, sales tax exemption on any materials and or equipment purchased for incorporation into the project, and real property abatement, tax abatement in accordance with the existing agency uniform tax exemption policy and guidelines as amended. Bayview Road Associates, LLC, the lessee, and Amazon.com Services, also known as the tenant, had entered into negotiations with the officials of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency with respect to a lease with mortgage or lease-only transaction for the construction of approximately 181,500 square feet warehouse, office, and distribution facility at the Lake Erie Commerce Center located at Lakeshore Road and Bayview Road, Hamburg, New York, by the lessee as agent for the agency for lease back by the lessee to the agency. It will allow the lessee to expand its operations and employment in the town of Hamburg. The lessee will then look to lease the facility for warehouse and distribution center to the tenant. May I have a motion to open the second public hearing at this time? Thank you, Wentz. Thank you, Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the meeting is open. I'd like to do some explanation and introduce some guest speakers to start the meeting. As I reintroduce the project for those who have not been available on the first public hearing, as this is the second, we will recap that meeting. We will then open to in-person comments for those of us that are here in person. You're welcome to leave after that or welcome to stay. After that, we will address comments via Zoom, so people joining us virtually. Finally, we will address any written comments. At that point, if there are no further comments, we would anticipate closing the hearing at this time and then introduce next steps. Yes, Chairman.
I usually know my line, we just do a roll call here.
Nora, have you joined the meeting or are you on the meeting?
Yes, I'm on. I finally unmuted myself.
Thank you, Norma.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So this project is, excuse me here as I move forward. This project is brought about by Walden Development Group as they are in lease negotiations with Amazon.com Services to construct a build-to-suit warehouse and distribution facility. This facility would serve Amazon customers in the southern tier of Western New York. Bergio Campo Police Construction, an affiliate in development, local and woman-owned constructor, will be responsible for the construction. This project is looking to bring to Hamburg investment of a total of $47.2 million. This is comprised of site acquisition, $38 million in materials and labor of construction, $1.2 million in soft costs, $5 million in tenant build out for the tenant to fit out the distribution facility for its own purposes, other costs including temporary construction financing, other financing costs in the amount of $2 million. After this, if this project is completed, after it would be completed, it would be a value to the town of approximately $5.6 million in assessed valuation. A little bit about the land involved in this project. This land was purchased through the Hamburg, New York Development Corporation for suitable development in M3. So that would be in commercial industrial development in the town of Hamburg in accordance with the zoning code in the M3 category. This land, as it has been purchased, has some inherent value, land value, but at this point, it has no value to the town in terms of property tax or special district tax revenue. With the incentive, as outlined in the application, it will provide, with the abatement applied, first-year taxes in the amount of $28,558 in town, county, and school district taxes. In addition to that $28,000, there will be special districts which are not afforded abatement under this pilot or Hamburg IDA incentive package. These special district taxes are roadway taxes for the town highway department, library taxes, sewer taxes, any type of user type fees that would be associated with the project. The value of that, as this building is proposed under the assessed valuation, would be $72,477 of revenue into the town. We are proposing to the board a 10-year pilot incentive. The value of this incentive, as it is rolled up and combined over the 10 years, is $599,725 of new value. In year 11, after the abatement would expire, based on current tax rates, the value to the town and the taxing jurisdictions would be a total of $358,060. With the incentive, there will be 100 new jobs created as a result of this project. There will be 5 management positions, 45 full-time production positions, and 50 part-time production positions. The salary ranges are on salary $60,000 to $80,000, and the hourly positions are proposed at a wage of $15 an hour with associated fringe. Going forward into a little bit of economic information, provided data in the last public hearing. That data had Department of Labor data from November in it. We have December. So in terms of the board focusing on economic and labor data, the private sector jobs in Western New York region have declined, and that number remains at 48,200 jobs. The unemployment rate as represented in November was 5.9%. The December rate was 7.5% unemployment in our area. The workforce has 15,600 less workers than compared to a year ago. So our workforce, people have either given up or left the work, given up seeking employment or left the workforce for whatever reason. We were able to pull data based on the 2020 census for the zip codes in the town of Bayview, and there are 1,931 jobs in the warehousing, storage, and transportation sector, and reported by the census a median wage of $28,928. A couple of main points that came up in the first public hearing was a request to have a second public hearing as a number of people were not available at the time when we held the first public hearing. So here we are today with the second public hearing, and we look forward to your input. Second, there was concerns brought up regarding our local labor policy. Any induced project through the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency is required to agree to local labor provided within the local labor market, essentially Western New York, that has to be 90% local labor. There was a clause in there that was brought into question. The clause allowed for a constructor to procure outside labor from the market area if they found labor to be 25% less than provided in the local market area. So we essentially removed that clause. We also put more authority to the board in this local labor policy and require that if the constructor seek a waiver from local labor, that this would require board approval, not executive director approval. So there'll be some additional controls to that end. In a prior board meeting, we have reviewed and readopted this policy and incorporated these changes, and the developer has agreed and signed off to the local labor policy as it is presented. Next, I would like to introduce a representative from Bayview Road Associates, Andrew DeVincentis. Would you please address the audience? Thank you. Yes, please, just for the microphone.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Andy DeVincentis, and I'm an owner and manager of the applicant Bayview Road Associates. I want to thank the board for its continued commitment to advance the job opportunities, wellness, general prosperity, economic welfare of the people of the great town of Hamburg, New York. The Hamburg, New York Land Development Corporation has done an excellent job positioning this parcel for new industrial development. They had a goal and a vision with this site to partner with a private developer, and we, along with our affiliate, Walden Development Group, are honored to be able to act on that vision. We stand before you tonight with an opportunity to bring a $50 million project to the town of Hamburg. An Amazon distribution facility on this will benefit Hamburg for years and decades to come, if we can make it happen. We respectfully urge you to provide the financial incentives that you have provided for other projects in the town, such as a FedEx facility across the street on Bayview Road. Please keep in mind, we as a developer and the IDA as the provider of financial incentives need to work together to package the best project to submit to Amazon leadership in Seattle. That includes the financial incentives that we need from the IDA. This project is in competition with others across the state and across the country. We believe it's in the best interest for our community to attract Amazon to locate here in Hamburg. In the first public hearing, as Sean mentioned earlier, there are questions relating to local labor policy on this project. We are aware of the local labor requirement on this project, should the application be approved by the board. It requires us to have 90% of the labor employment in Erie County and the 7 surrounding counties. Not only will we comply with the local labor policy as required, but we strongly believe this project will be almost 100% local labor. Conversely, Without the approval of this application and the financial incentive that you can afford, we would not be required to follow any local labor policy on this proposed project. Additionally, we want to share some forecasted information about the construction bidding process undertaken by our affiliated contractor for the Shaw and Campbell Police. About half the subcontractors invited to bid on the proposed project were union contractors and half were open shops. While we're not done with the vetting process for the proposed project, we believe that there will be significant trade union representation should the project be built. We welcome that participation. We estimate there is a total of about $15 million in labor on this project. At a time when the global pandemic has caused the highest unemployment in the region in almost a decade, this proposed project would employ approximately 300 local construction workers and support dozens of local businesses at a time when many need it most. In closing, I'd like to mention that we and our affiliated companies are all based in New York State with our offices in Elmwood. Almost all of our employees are Erie County residents, most of which have been here their entire lives. Our general contractor affiliate is a New York State women-owned business. We're part of this community. We know how great this region is. We're confident corporations, large corporations like Amazon, will see the same when they plan to reach it. Execution of this proposal cements this corridor as a logistics and technology hub, not just in Hamburg, but in Western New York. We look forward to your support to make this project happen and happen now. Thank you.
We allowed the question, Sean?
I will allow the board to question and then maybe we can introduce public.
Yeah, I mean, I just out of curiosity, we recently gave a incentive to the windmills over across the street to come up with green energy, more green energy. Do you guys have any plans for the green energy part of this project? Because that's something that we always look at as a board is what you're looking at for green energy.
Yeah, I mean, I would look to, I think some of the representatives from Amazon are on the call. There's been plans that are out there. I'd probably defer to them to comment on what the structure of the building is and what components it would have. I don't know if Brad's able to speak on that now at this time.
Sure. Any questions, other questions? Otherwise, I'll introduce our next speaker.
No, I just want to make sure that I don't know what you guys do specifically. Part of the projects into overseeing the building and stuff somewhat.
We had a hand in the design of the proposed project.
Okay.
So, all right, but I would defer to Brad in his comments in terms of any green or sustainability that the building would have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DiVincentis.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to introduce a representative from Amazon.com Services, Mr. Brad Griggs. Thank you for joining us tonight, Brad. I know you can't see me, but believe me, I'm here.
Good evening, Sean, and good evening, members of the IDA board, as well as the town and Western New York citizens that are here on the call. Good evening.
Brad, can you speak in terms of the employment and the economic impact with the employment associated new business that is often driven out of these projects?
Absolutely. So from this project, what we're going to look to build here, should it move forward, is one of our Amazon last mile delivery stations. And so these facilities have both direct employment impacts with our Amazon associates on full-time, part-time, and seasonal workforce with industry-leading pay and comprehensive full-time benefits for our full-time associates. That includes medical, dental, 401k with matching, as well as parental leave, ramp back programs that are all combined into a comprehensive benefits the same as our corporate employees for the full-time members of our workforce. Additionally, these sites will create indirect employment opportunities for our delivery service providers that handle the delivery capacity out of these sites. So the Amazon van drivers that handle the delivery of the packages are third-party independent contractors that are oftentimes small businesses, logistics companies, and entrepreneurs in the area that we locate these sites. We will contract with those folks. They become our drivers similar to those that may handle a deli route or bread route or a milk route in your community right now. They deliver our Amazon packages, and those are indirect jobs that would be created by this proposed project. Those drivers all are paid as at least $15 an hour by our Amazon standards in order to be contracted as a delivery service provider for this project. Those jobs are not part of the application as presented to the IDA because they're not direct employees of Amazon, but they would be products of the proposed project should it move forward. And we would anticipate several hundred full-time driver positions as well as delivery service provider management positions that would come out of this project should it move forward.
Thank you, Brad. A question was brought up by one of our board members, Bob Reynolds. Bob, do you want to address it or I can rephrase it?
You can rephrase it. You kind of know what I'm going for.
The questions were surrounding sustainability and Amazon's initiatives towards greening, whether it be corporate initiatives in building design and anything that would speak to commitment to the environment.
Sure. So Amazon has significant and very public corporate pledges around our climate pledge, around sustainability and being net carbon zero in accordance with the Paris Agreement and being 10 years earlier than that. We additionally have the goal of having 100,000 electric vehicles on the road by 2030, with 10,000 of those on the road by 2022. This site, in addition, would be evaluated for solar panels and photovoltaic energy, whereas we also are evaluating potential availability to purchase renewable energy to power this site. The location will have the ability to, as part of the design, should it move forward, to place conduit into the parking lot to allow for electrical vehicle charging stations in the future. So from that point, what we're looking to do is, should this project move forward, it would be in the process of evaluating how this building can help Amazon meet its climate pledge requirements that we have placed upon ourselves in order to meet those obligations. And so as this project were to move forward, it would be evaluated for solar panels on the roof, and the building is designed with that in mind. Should it be able to be installed, we would have the design already baked into the plans that are before the town at present. We also have, as I said, the electrical conduit buried into the parking lot to allow for quick transition to electrical vehicles as our van fleet is rolled out beginning in 2022 with the commercial electric vans that would start to help deliver our customers' packages to them.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing? Just as you're looking at these vehicles, Western New York is noted for our auto industry, and two of our big suppliers out here are GM and Ford. So I would hope that Amazon would take a serious look at that to support our fellow brothers and sisters and auto workers in the Western New York area, because we do have Syracuse has significant ones. This area has a significant auto industry, and that would be an important factor going forward on your decisions on what type of cars you're buying and stuff like that. I would greatly appreciate it.
Understood. And at present, we're working to try and create that commercial electric vehicle industry at present. And so we're happy to have those sort of discussions as we move forward.
Good. Send me your number.
Question about it. We have a metric for every one warehouse job. I can expect 2 to 3 spin-offs or delivery people.
I'm sorry, I could not hear the question.
Yeah, the question was related to economic spin-off of warehouse and distribution jobs. I don't know if Amazon, I know there are some industry ratios that I could quote, but does Amazon find in these types of facilities a typical ratio of warehouse associate positions within Amazon.com and new jobs created in the local labor area?
Sure. So as I referenced, the delivery service providers are third-party independent contractors. We work with the local communities that we go into to help identify additional providers that are entrepreneurs or small businesses that want to grow, to help them. We have a process with which we can help those who want to become delivery service providers to be vetted, and provided that they are a credit-worthy business or credit-worthy entrepreneur, we can help them to establish their own delivery service business. We can help them to obtain financing to become a delivery service provider, work with them on obtaining the equipment and the business systems needed to run their own business, and then partner with them as a delivery service provider to handle our delivery capacity at the location and help run their own business. Additionally, what I would expect from this location is at a minimum over 400 to 500 indirect jobs from the van drivers for this location. So that's in addition to the jobs that are on the application to be directly employed by Amazon.
Thanks.
Glenn's question.
Yeah, the benefit package you spoke about for the 50 full-time people. For the temps, is there a benefit? The temporary workers, whether the benefits available?
Again, I'm sorry, I can't hear the question, Sean. Could you
For
repeat that?
the temporary workers, will there be any benefits available?
So for our temporary workforce, they get partial benefits depending on the amount of hours they work. So on average, a part-time worker typically would have about 20 hours per week is what our part-time workforce or seasonal workforce has. So they get partial benefits, including stipend towards medical, but they get partial benefits towards the workforce there, depending on the number of hours worked.
And then the temps, are they permanent temps, or will they be able to eventually get full-time employment?
Sure. The seasonal workforce does have an end date through our peak period, but many of those associates are able to move into full-time positions after their seasonal employment period has concluded, provided that they want to continue working at the location.
And finally, with the third-party drivers, my understanding is they don't get any benefits. They're on their own. Is that correct?
So as their third-party independent contractors, their companies obviously have to meet the requirements of New York State from that standpoint, but we're not able to comment on whether or not they provide benefits. That's their own company in the manner in which they run it or operate it.
Thank you.
Brad, this is Sean. I had another question. You may be aware, but certainly our state and our local municipalities are certainly experiencing a revenue decline and some financial distress as a result of the pandemic. And as incentives are applied, we have to be very judicious and understanding as to and confident into the benefit of these projects, as we would be potentially foregoing revenue. Can you speak to the site selection process as best as you can in terms of how the site selection process works and how incentives weigh in on that? In addition to that, can you speak to past projects that have been established in the Western New York region and how those were orchestrated and constructed as it compares or contrasts to this project?
Absolutely, Sean. So from a site selection standpoint, each Amazon facility is evaluated in a holistic manner by our real estate, finance, workforce staffing, recruitment, as well as with a mindset of how we can best serve our customers through our North American network. And so these last mile facilities, especially a project like this, that is a build to suit location where we're taking a ground up development with a $50 million or $47 million price tag associated with it, it is being evaluated for a capital resource allocation internally by Amazon, along with, potentially hundreds of other sites on this timeline that are being evaluated for location resources just for a last mile facility. That's in addition to facilities within Amazon's network that are looking for capital resource allocations to handle our fulfillment network, like the project I think that was referenced earlier in Syracuse, that is our first mile or fulfillment center location. So from that standpoint, what happens is that these locations are considered on a holistic manner. And so a location here in Western New York is being evaluated against capital resource allocations throughout North America for those locations to be approved and financing to be released by our Amazon leadership to move forward with a project of this size. And so it is competing as a holistic evaluation, both on qualitative and quantitative factors, to determine how to best serve our customers and how to expand our network in the way in which to help our Amazon network meet our customer needs and our customer demands. And so we look at these projects, and how the financial assistance weighs in is it helps to create what is the best project opportunity for this to be approved internally and to be able to move forward. And so that is how, from a site selection standpoint, the financial assistance is considered for a project of this nature. Now, on previous projects that have been mentioned, as it relates to Western New York, the way in which this project differs from other projects in the past is, one, the number of sites that it's competing with internally. At the time that other locations in Western New York were considered, there may have been only a few dozen, if that, sites under consideration internally for resources. So there was more resources to be potentially dedicated. But more importantly, those projects at the time, we did not have the full-time employment that accompanies this application. Our last mile delivery network at the time that was considered for other projects in the region, like the location in Tonawanda, at the time, we did not have the ability to offer as much full-time employment for this location. So with the Hamburg application, we're able to commit to more full-time jobs, which is typically a prerequisite for IDA financial assistance, is the full-time jobs that come along with it. And as such, the prior projects would not have been able to commit to more than single-digit full-time job creation because of the manner in which we previously operated our facilities before we shifted to a more full-time employment opportunity at our last mile delivery sites.
Thank you, Brad. Does the board have any questions for Brad? All right, Brad, I would appreciate if you stay on the line. Certainly, if there's some public comment as we introduce that portion of the meeting, if you would like to speak, you will certainly be welcome to. Thank you for your time. Next, I would like to introduce Supervisor Shaw, who would like to offer some words on behalf of the project.
Thank you. Sean, is it all right if I take this lectern and move it over here so I can face both ways?
Yes, you certainly could.
Yeah. So that's
good.
Yeah, thanks. Folks, I don't know by any means that I've cornered the market on virtue or wisdom. I have my thoughts on this project, as do each of you. I can't say that my conclusions are inherently better or more wise than yours might be, but I have some strong feelings and I want to share them. Last Thursday, I got an email from the council president of the city of Olean. The secondary purpose of that email was to offer congratulations to Hamburg on what the council president, John Crawford, termed as, quote, exciting news for your community. He was wishing us well upon the announcement that Amazon may locate a distribution center within the town of Hamburg. More importantly, though, Council President Crawford implored me to provide contact information so Olean could reach out to Amazon regarding the possibility of a warehouse and distribution center in that city. His plea was urgent, he said, premised upon the fact that Siemens Energy, the largest private sector employer in the community, had announced that it was packing shop and leaving Olean in 2022, taking 500 good-paying manufacturing jobs with it. This sad news replicates the devastation that we in Erie County have realized over the past several decades. Where is Buffalo Forge, Worthington Pump, Kittinger, Trico, Donner Hanna Coke, Republic Steel, and most tellingly, Bethlehem Steel? They are essentially like Siemens and Olean, gone with the wind. I remember starting my law practice as these giant smokestack industries that sustained our growth and our wealth in the first half of the 20th century shuttered, closed down, or moved away. There were no easy answers, no short-term fixes, and our economy here in Western New York went into a state of prolonged atrophy. We gradually emerged, slowly, painfully, one step forward, sometimes two steps back, to a point where we were hopeful that we were on the dawn of what political leaders in the city referred to as a renaissance. And then, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic struck us and the nation last February. Contrary to some of the statistics related by Sean in December, the real unemployment rate here in Erie County is closer to 8.5%. As of February the 1st, according to the Buffalo News, quoting the Department of Labor statistics, there are 22,000 fewer jobs in Erie County than there were on February the 1st of 2020. The restaurant, hospitality, leisure industries have been decimated with no quick fix in the offing and a long and slow, painful struggle back to pre-COVID sustainability. The people that get hurt the most are the people who are at the lower end of the wage spectrum. I was thinking of a family that lives in Cloverbank, the Cloverbank section of our community. The mother is a woman in her mid-50s, and she's got 3 children, all of whom are emancipated, but 2 of whom live at home, still single. Her 24-year-old son, with a high school degree and no great state, works as a pizza delivery guy for a local pizza chain, 20 to 25 hours a week. No benefits, minimum wage, hoping that he gets good people in the door who get him jobs. $15 an hour is not going to support everybody, but $15 an hour to that young man and to his mother are going to mean the difference between subsistence, feeding a family, hanging on, or facing a bleak future that's depressing to contemplate. $31,200 a year, $600 a week, $2,400 a month on a 4-week month, $3,000 on a 5-week month is not going to sustain a family, but it's going to help in certain situations like that family has in Cloverbank that has to pay a mortgage, pay its property tax, homeowners insurance, utilities. That mother depends upon those 2 emancipated kids, and quite frankly, they don't have the work or the ability to leave the nest. Those stories are replicated throughout this community. I was talking earlier before we began the meeting. Let's be honest. A $60,000 family income for 4. We don't have the classic 1950s situation where union wages floated the boat, sustained the families, kept everybody going. Those days are gone, long gone. $60,000 a year. Take away federal taxes, state tax, FICA, you're down to about 48, 47,000 in those situations. When you get through paying a mortgage of between $800 and $1,200 a month and property taxes, do you know that in the village of Hamburg, that a home worth $220,000 to $230,000 fair market value, no palace by any stretch of the imagination, has an aggregate tax on that home, along with special district fees, of about $7,200 a year. It's almost $150 a week just to turn the key into it. So while these jobs are not a panacea and these jobs are not a golden lifeboat, they all some hope. And the spin-off job possibility for delivery people or small companies is something that will give a shot in the arm to many families. In Tonawanda, when they started, their proposal was for 10 or 15 full-time employees, Amazon. They now have over 150 full and part-time employees. But another 400 or so are the spin-off jobs. The independent contractors, the delivery people that can make some extra bucks by taking on a role to assist in the delivery of Amazon goods locally. That helps. Today, families can't make it unless mom and dad are in the workforce. So $31,200 a year is not going to make anybody jump for joy. But when you're starving, or you're having trouble figuring out how you can pay the mortgage or keep the electric bill going without facing another shut-off notice, an extra $600 a week pre-tax is going to make a big deal, a big difference to people. Now, certainly, Amazon job opportunities here and everywhere else in this country are not golden lifeboats. These jobs offer a hand up and hope to families who are struggling to simply hang on. This community has a moral obligation to assist Amazon employees reap the benefits that can come with the right to collectively organize, to realize a bigger slice of what is indeed a very large pie for one of the most powerful corporations in the world. Now, some of the critics of this project say to us that Hamburg, a municipality that has gone through its share of hard knocks, should not be affording tax to one of the most powerful corporations in the world. Well, in the last 30 years, there has been no manufacturing company or distribution company of manufactured goods that has opened a plant or made a major expansion in this town without some tax incentives or IDA help. It doesn't happen. We're not South Carolina, Louisiana, Mississippi, or even Florida. No state income tax. Property taxes that are 30% of what we pay. We have to compete by offering incentives to companies to come here. And what's the option? It's a practical matter, whether you're pro-economic growth or you're a militantly pro-worker guy, what's the option? We got 60 acres sitting over there, zoned industrial. Cap isn't going to build a plant there. Walter Steel isn't building. Without some incentives, how do we attract national companies to come here? How do we grow the economy? If that land sits vacant, you know what it will produce for us? Not a zip, 0.00 in property taxes and special fees. During the 10-year pilot, remember this, the Woodlawn Volunteer Fire Company gets its full service fee. That's a company without an expanding population base. So we've got to look at this from several different perspectives. It just isn't that simple. Now, once we get through with the 10-year plan, remember, in the first 3 years, it's 10% of town, school, and county taxes. 28,500, something like that. In the last 3 years, it's 30%, 85,000 and change. Sean went on to say that at the end of the 10-year plan, we'll be looking at total taxes for town, school, and county of $358,060.43. That assumes that the tax rate in play today, 2021, is the same in 2031. We live in the real world, folks. That doesn't happen. If town, county, and school taxes increase on average, from 2 to 3% a year, in the first year after the end of this pilot, the total tax benefit to these three taxing entities will be in the aggregate of approximately $500,000 because interest compounds. We're just not adding 20% to the total or 30%, it compounds. What will happen 10 or 11 years down the road if that property remains where it is? 0.00. So to be quite honest, there's an awful lot here to think about. But I honestly suggest that when you look at all of the issues from every perspective, living in the real world that we do, not in the world we wish it could be, the real world we live in, this proposal is in the best interest of the town of Hamburg. That's why I'm speaking in favor. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Okay, yes. I was actually working towards opening the public comment. So a couple of ground rules for Zoom. We are not going to address any comments in the Zoom. We are not going to read them. This comment we will provide if you state your name in the comment section. We will afford you an opportunity to speak when that time comes. So please do not offer any comments in the comment section. They will not be addressed. We would ask you to speak in a normal fashion. We are affording the critical component to maintain safety during the pandemic. Next, yes, Dan.
I just, when you're done, I'd like to ask Mr. Briggs.
Okay, please do, and then I'm going to open it up.
Mr. Briggs, just, you know, a lot of big businesses get a bad name for being just that big business and making a profit. Could you maybe speak to the fact how small businesses work with Amazon and your e-commerce opportunities for small businesses to sell their wares through your company, that you also work not just with, you know, these big conglomerates, but a small business person can sell on Amazon. I don't think people all understand the whole business model.
Absolutely. Amazon, through our Fulfillment by Amazon program, partners with small and medium-sized businesses to allow them to leverage Amazon's network to get their products into our customers' hands. And as of our most recent data, more than 60% of the products purchased through Amazon.com were made or were provided by third-party sellers and small businesses and entrepreneurs. We've helped to create millions of small business jobs and small business growth throughout North America, and we're able to allow those small businesses and companies to leverage Amazon's network throughout North America to help enhance their business, enhance job growth in their communities, and get their products into our customers' hands on a daily basis.
Thank you.
Yes, Wayne.
You know, before we get to the people here and then to the people on Zoom, I'm looking at the Hamburg IDA mission statement. Consistent to the authority granted by the state of New York, it is the mission of the town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency to advance the job opportunities, wellness, general prosperity, and economic welfare of the people of the great town of Hamburg, New York. This is accomplished by enthusiastically working to promote, attract, encourage, and develop recreation, economically sound commerce, industry for the purpose of maximizing employment and property value for the town and its residents. Understand, residents. I don't believe that you can work at Amazon making $31,000 a year, you and your wife or husband or partner, and live in a town of Hamburg. All right, we're telling, let's do it for the kids. you know, as our supervisor said, I just don't believe that you can work at Amazon, get paid that price, and then live in the town of Hamburg. I don't believe that. Also, you know, you brought up the plant Ogenek, Siemens, I believe. They're $100,000 a year jobs. They're leaving, and they're union representative jobs. This is not what we're bringing in here. I just had to get it off my chest. I know we got to go through a lot of things, but I'm sitting here and biting my tongue, and with respect to everyone that showed up, everyone that's online, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, I'm in.
I'd just like to make a comment that I appreciate Wentz, I respect you deeply, but I deeply disagree with you. I think in the village of Blaisdell where I reside, that is, you can survive and have a house. I know that because I live there, and that's not hypothetical, but I appreciate it.
I don't think, people at Walmart who get a similar pay, they're the biggest people they're people that work there are public assistants. So we're gonna give Amazon tax break, and then on the other end, we're gonna help them out, pay their bills through public assistance, because that's what's going on at these companies. I don't know if they do it at Amazon, but I know they do it at Walmart.
And we're not giving tax breaks to Walmart, we're looking at Amazon.
I understand, but they get the same pay. So, thank you. I don't know. That's all I got.
Thank you. Next, I will, as I had mentioned, I want to open up the comment to people in person. The first, Supervisor Shaw, do you have any additional comment at this point?
No, other than to say, as I mentioned before, unless you've got both parents working, even a $60,000 a year job supporting a family of 4 or 5, given the tax, mortgage, given utilities, homeowners insurance, all the things you go through, you're going to lead a pretty austere lifestyle. I'm just simply saying that the addition of $30,000 into a nuclear family's income, an additional infusion of that money, can make a difference between surviving and thriving. So,
understood. Okay, our first speaker, Jeff Brilski, Creighton Drive in Hamburg.
Thank you. Thank you. Tough act to follow.
Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you.
Executive Director, members of the Board of Directors. Good evening, everybody, members of the community. My name is Jeff Brilski, and I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Hamburg, and I am president of Teamsters Local 449. I am here today to speak in opposition of the proposed tax incentives for the Amazon project to be built in the Lake Erie Commerce Center. This project is expected to create 100 full and part-time jobs that would pay $15 an hour, and I would certainly say that $15 an hour is not a renaissance for the town. Amazon's long-term plan is to use this facility and others like it to compete with UPS and make themselves a major player in the small package industry. Right now, the town of Hamburg has 41 blue-collar Teamster represented UPS employees living here. These 41 families together will contribute more in town, county, and school taxes every year for the next 10 years than Amazon under the proposed pilot program. And this doesn't count the contributions of the white-collar workers and the retirees, who also call Hamburg their home. All of these families are true job creators in the town. They eat here, they shop here, and they all vote here. They all bring something to the table and contribute to the success of the town of Hamburg. A vote to grant these incentives to Amazon is a vote against the interests of all of these families, some of whom are your neighbors. Amazon generated over $120 billion in sales in the fourth quarter of 2020. Under the 10-year abatement plan, Amazon is expected to pay $28,558 per year for the first 3 years in town, county, and school taxes. Over the course of the following 7 years, it will gradually increase, and they're expected to pay $600,000 over the 10-year pilot program. Now, during the same 10 years, I, as an Erie County, town of Hamburg, in Frontier Central school district resident, I'll pay $60,000. That's if my taxes, my own taxes, county taxes, and school taxes don't increase. I'll pay $60,000 myself personally over the next 10 years. And Bob and I live, being neighbors in the same neighborhood. That's 120,000 between you and I, Bob. I can assure you one thing, Bob, you and I didn't have that 120 billion in the fourth quarter of 2020. All right, we didn't have that kind of income. There's also a strong possibility that private citizens and small businesses will pay more in taxes over the same time period that Amazon does. This is not a good project for this or any type of tax incentive. $28,558 is less than 1/10 of 1% of the town of Hamburg budget. Divide that up between the county and school taxes, and the amount is nearly invisible and will have little impact on the individual budgets. These jobs, while they may contribute, they're not a game changer for Erie County or the town of Hamburg. And there's no guarantee at the conclusion of this 10-year pilot that this company will stay here. There is no guarantee. This will be the third Amazon project open in the greater Buffalo region. First in Lancaster employs several hundred, and the Tonawanda facility employs nearly 600 people. Neither project was developed with any tax incentives. Now, I know Walden has purchased this property. It's a prime piece of property. And if Amazon wants to develop a last mile facility on the property, they could do exactly what they've done in Lancaster and Tonawanda, do so without any incentives. If they say no incentives, no deal, well, then Walden Development has an attractive piece of property to develop while it searches for a tenant that's willing to make a difference in our community. Mr. Doyle, Board of Directors, please reject this project. Thank you very much. I just want to comment too on the graph here where they talk about the employment, 5 full-time management jobs, $60,000 salary plus fringe benefits. Right now, I've got about 247 people, full-time employees on the UPS seniority list over there, with top pay of $36.52 an hour plus nearly $26 an hour additional in health and welfare and pension contributions. Part-timers over at UPS, they start at $18 an hour. They have $24 an hour in health, welfare, and pension contributions. Those are good, high-quality jobs. As work eventually is siphoned away from UPS into the Amazon system, these jobs will go away. This $15 an hour will help create a vacuum on those jobs, and we will be engaging in a race to the bottom. All right. I appreciate your time tonight, everybody. Thank you very much. All right. Good to see everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Bob Mahoney, who lives on Taylor Road in Hamburg.
Board, thank you very much. Doyle, board. I'm Bob Mahoney. I live in Hamburg. I'm also a business rep for SEIU Local 200 United. I'm speaking on behalf of this project. Because again, I'll piggyback on Jeff's comments. Are kind of rich for a company whose profit rates are astronomical for big box corporation. The jobs that they mentioned represent a lot of low wage workers, so I'm kind of familiar with it. If they don't make a certain amount of hours per week, they get subsidies from New York State. So that means they get food stamps, Medicaid, and housing that we as taxpayers will be contributing to that. And that's just for the part-time job. $15 an hour, with all due respect to the supervisor, you cannot live in the town of Hamburg. The living wage is above that. And I'm on the living wage commission in the city of Buffalo, so I know that. The living wage here, the cost of living has to have some bearings where you live in Western New York. Although I feel bad for the town of Olean, we just recently lost the new air jobs here over a year ago, where the company there, Chris Koch, received PPP money and was supposed to give it to the employees. He laid off 187 people, and a few months later, they closed the plant and they left. 200 jobs gone. Hopefully, they can recoup them. I just can't see here in Hamburg for 31,000 years to raise a family. You're going to start to raise a family, a single mother or a single father. Even there, the cost and the small businesses that have been mentioned, they won't be able to spend that.
So small business won't be gaining anything by that. Just surviving has been stated. So I'm so against the project for the mere fact of the rage and the gauge of how you're going to pay these people with basically fringe. I'm confused on the fringe. $3 to $4.50 and $4.50. Is that increased money for the hours? I'm confused on the fringe. What type of benefits do the full-timers get? And is there any kind of project labor agreement going to be in place? It's been mentioned by Mr. DeSantis that there's an agency local labor policy. He also mentioned, which I was confused, you mentioned, I was very careful to listen, that this will be decades of economy here in Hamburg, which I understand is only a 10-year project, or at least. So I guess I'm very opposed to this on two levels. I don't think the incentive is needed because they're not the next thing. And I think jobs have to be created to a higher rate, or extend your lease and get a job higher rate. I don't think it's economy. The economy here is going to survive after 2020. We're just not going to be able to survive. People aren't going to be able to. Some people say they can make it. Some people say jobs are jobs, but you have to survive. On $31,000 here in Hamburg, the average rental was $750 and up. Take that out of your monthly check. So I'm opposed to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mahone. Next speaking is Chris Stone, Summerway Lane.
Good evening. My name is Chris Stone. I'm the president of Carpenters Local 276. I represent about 2,400 members in Western New York, not all of them in Hamburg, of course. There's been a lot of pushback concerning this project. The specter of corporate incentives versus the low wage on these qualifying jobs that'll be corrected kind of hangs heavy in the air. But I'd like to speak from a different perspective. Other jobs in this project, construction work. Construction work is transient in nature. Carpenters and other trade people are constantly working themselves out of a job, completing one building, moving on to the next. This project will create potentially thousands of man hours for foundations, steel erection, and mechanical trades. Not to mention other craft people and hours that would work constructing this warehouse. Many of these craftspeople live here in Hamburg. These are decent paying jobs with wages and benefits that can support a family. Although not factored into the created jobs formula, these are real jobs. If the tax incentives are too high for the jobs created, then perhaps the IDA should look at a counter proposal or put a subsidy cap in the future. Or I was speaking with Brian Kolpa, the Amherst Town Supervisor. He's suggesting things like project investment financing, whereas instead of giving tax abatements, take the anticipated revenue that's earmarked for the infrastructure specific to that project and reinvest it that way. This saves on development and construction costs. Let's face it, the struggle between labor and corporations is nothing new. Labor creates all wealth, yet the wealthy are generally unwilling to share that wealth. That's where union membership comes in. As for the low-wage warehouse jobs, at this moment, workers are banding together in Alabama to form a union at an Amazon site. If they have the fortitude to do this in Alabama, then they certainly can do it here. For the potential construction jobs that would be created, the Carpenters Union is in favor of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Next speaking, Dwayne Whitmer. Sorry, Dwayne, I can't, East Lane and Lakeview.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Guys, I'm going to start by saying I oppose this. I oppose IDAs in general. The Buffalo Billion was a great job of IDA success. Or Simonelli and the dude that went to federal prison. No one else, but that's okay. I don't know if you guys noticed in the last year, there was a pandemic that shut down a lot of businesses in Hamburg, all over the country. People were not allowed to work. People were not to support their families. And the government gave them $600 in stimulus and another $1,200. Amazon was one of the companies that didn't have to shut down and reported, as someone said, $120 billion in the fourth quarter. My clients who own restaurants and businesses in Hamburg did not report that. They actually, like I said, were shut down. They didn't get a $5 million tax credit, tax break. They got nothing. Matter of fact, their taxes went up. Recently, I heard a story about a woman in Clover Bank who pays taxes and is struggling. How come we're not providing them tax incentives to be here? Why do we have to bribe Amazon to come here? Clearly, our business environment is flawed, and that's something we should rely on our politicians and other people to fix. But giving $1 trillion company a tax incentive so they can give us table scraps is kind of embarrassing. And I hope you guys do say no. I hope Amazon comes here and they spend their own money. I don't think that the working class families of Hamburg should subsidize this project by giving them tax breaks. Will these people struggle to pay their bills, struggle to live in Hamburg, struggle to exist, and we back up an armored truck for $1 trillion company to give us table scraps? And if anyone's upset about the job loss, we could just drive down to Derby and apply for a job at New Era. That's a great example of corporate welfare gone. Oh no, they're gone. They're in North Carolina. Their incentives ran out and they left. And I assume most likely that'll happen to Amazon too. So I want to go on record opposing this. I want to thank you guys for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Jim Ostrowski from Newport Avenue in Kendall.
Thank you very much. I do live in Buffalo, but I do spend money in Canada. I guess I think we're the right people. I'm an attorney, and I write books. I have my own publishing company, and I sell them all on Amazon. So I'm one of the people who has a small business that from Amazon's existence. But I'm really here today to kind of echo my friend, Mr. Whitmer, and just talk about the fact that, no offense, IDA should be abolished. And my friend Shaw made some very poignant comments about the economy here, and spoken like a good trial lawyer that he is. He made a very strong case. I just think that problems are so much deeper than can be solved by an IDA. And I have written remarks. I'm not going to read them. I'll leave copies. But the first problem with IDAs is that IDAs are a public authority. And a public authority is neither responsible to the marketplace nor to the ballot box. And I have my more details on that. Years ago, the comptroller, I think it was Hevesy, if I'm allowed to still mention his name, I can't remember, something went wrong there. But he made a point why IDAs fail. He said they produce on job creation, they keep poor records as do their clients. There's no reasonable cost benefit analysis of their activities. They don't recapture tax breaks when companies fail to create new jobs. There is no unbiased study that demonstrates that IDAs accomplish their stated mission of improving New York. IDAs do consume considerable economic resources, personnel, independent contractors, and labor costs, and the IDAs shift the tax burden from their clients to the vast majority of citizens who are not their clients. So basically, we've had IDAs for 50 years, and the economy is still in the pandemic. It killed the economy. Just ask the people in Florida. It's the lockdown, the illegal lockdown for which there's no evidence. I'm litigating that in federal court. I would go there. So what is the real problem? New York is the least free state. New York is the most expensive state. And you don't have to go down to Florida or South Carolina to find out what it would be like if we had significantly lower taxes. Go to Pennsylvania. Go to Ohio. Open your eyes, look around. They have significantly lower tax rates than we do, significantly lower government spending. And let me just use Pennsylvania as an example. Their taxes are 50% lower. So roughly speaking, every year, New Yorkers spend $50 billion more than Pennsylvania. And for what? You drive through Pennsylvania, you have everything that we have in New York. We just spend $50 billion more. Now, the IDAs, they spend $100 million out of pocket to shift around $784 million. So it's basically $1 billion. It's a drop in the bucket to what our real problem is. We have the most expensive government in the United States, which is why probably in the next year or two, you won't have Jim Tufsky to kick around anymore because I can't take it anymore. I really can't. And most people can't. For advertising on BEN, we'll help you move to Florida. So I'm not gonna, I'm a trial lawyer like Jim. I could talk for 3 hours, but I know everybody else wants to speak. I will leave my copies of my study for anybody who wants to read them. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak that did not sign in? Yes. I know you're a Hamburg resident.
My name is Augie Geraci. I reside on Glenville Drive, which is about a mile away from where the Amazon project is being considered. I'm retired. I had a good career while working. I started at 90 cents an hour, my first job when I was 16, and I worked my way up to a six-figure income. I paid my own college tuition. I worked 3 jobs when I was to come to New York to do business, you got to be out of your mind unless there's an incentive. I grew up downtown Buffalo, was wall-to-wall people on a Sunday. There was a crowd going this way, there was a crowd going this way. Department stores all over, malls were never even heard of. I lived where I lived for 35 years. That corner has been empty for 35 years. It's going to pay tax. Not a lot of tax, but it will pay tax. It'll help the Woodlawn Fire Company. It'll help the school boards with their getting killed on their taxes. I have family that lives in South Carolina. My brother has $1 million home. He pays $3,600 in taxes, where I pay $3,900 on a $180,000 home. When you're retired down there, you don't pay school tax. He gets a senior citizen discount. His wife had a heart transplant. She gets a disabled American discount. He's a Vietnam veteran. He gets another discount. In New York, you try to get a discount on anything, you got to give your right arm and your left arm. The steel industry is gone. There's 2 automobile companies here in Ford, but at one time Ford hired over 15,000 people at that plant down the road. There used to be 2 Chevy plants. Now there's only Harrison Radiators, the other one. But let's get the jobs. $15 an hour, yes, you can live on it. But if it's a supplemental income to a family, that's a big help, as Mr. Shaw said. If you need, when I was growing up, my dad worked. My mother stayed home. Today, my wife worked, I worked. My daughter started working when she was in high school. I put her on a system where what she earned, we put away for her college education. She went to school, I had to come up with $20 extra when she graduated from Fredonia. Her tuition was paid for by saving money, investing money, and didn't have to take out any student loans. So I support the project. I know it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's a project that will bring jobs, taxes, a corner that's been empty forever, to see a building go up there. Let's let it roll. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, last call. Next, I would like to introduce our speakers via Zoom.
Rivera Baines.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say my name is Rajveer Baines. I'm calling in on behalf of Corner Market. We're a local family-owned company and have 3 locations in Hamburg. And we take pride in being part of the community and supporting other local businesses as well. And our primary businesses include convenience stores as well as gasoline and a full-service deli. The new Amazon facility is within 1 mile of our Big Tree in St. Francis location. At this location, we're happy to do business with the local FedEx warehouse as they're currently using it for fuel and their convenience purchases. So we are excited to be able to accommodate the staff with our convenience items and our deli as well. And our business on a whole has been affected by the COVID situation due to the decreased amount of traffic on the roads. And with the facility coming into close proximity with our location, I hope that it'll help to our business to maintain its success. But at the same time, we hope that Amazon will do the same thing in regards to providing well-paying jobs and a better opportunity for our community. That's really important for us as well, just to make sure that there is an additional opportunity that Amazon does bring in for our community on a whole. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Next, David Stout.
Yeah, I'm David Stout. I live in the town of Evans, but I've been studying energy and what drives this economy that we have. It's basically the sun. The buildings that are being built should be oriented east-west so that solar panels can be put on their south-facing roofs. This is important because the IDA will possibly own these buildings at some time. They'll have to keep security on the buildings. They're going to have to pay for electricity for the security system. If they require the electricity to be made there locally, they'll have that, and will one less reason why this will be an albatross over their head. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stout. That's okay. Next, we have, where am I here? Mr. David Cudahy. David Cudahy.
Hi, yeah, this is David Cudahy. I live on Browning Drive in the village of Hamburg. I just wanted to voice my support for this proposal. Seems like the location is well suited for the use it's intended. Look, we all want growth in Western New York, and that has to come in little chunks. It's not going to come in huge leaps and bounds. And this looks like a very good opportunity for our area. I think a lot of the speakers, I think that they underestimate how hostile to business our tax structure is. And incentives like this are pretty much par for the course for something where we want someone to come in and compete with, compete nationally. So I support this proposal. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Gary Swain. Next, Mr. Gary Swain. Gary, are you still on?
Yeah, sorry, struggling with the mute button for some reason. I spoke at the first public hearing. My name's Gary Swain. I don't live in Hamburg, but I do represent about 1,800 members of the International Union of Operating Engineers. We cover 6.5 counties of Western New York, so we cover this area here. We also have our training facility located in Lakeview on a parcel of land just behind the Wanaka Country Club, and we train heavy equipment operators. To the IDA board, I don't envy your position. I know this is going to be a difficult decision, and I'm not going to weigh in on whether or not Amazon needs tax incentives to come here. But I will speak to the jobs that will be created if and when Amazon decides to construct the building. I know there was talk about companies already being looked at to do the construction. I did hear that through the grapevine that the operator's work would be good, but then when I questioned my local contractor, he said he knew nothing about it. I would hope that these jobs, building the facility, like Brother Chris Stone talked about, if they go with local labor and go with good, well-paying union construction jobs, all of this money will stay here in the community because our members live here, they pay taxes here, they send their kids to school here. I do know that across the state, this has not gone well for other areas. So I would hope that the developer lives up to what they're saying when they talk about developing the property. And, you know, to the full-time jobs, the part-time jobs that are created at these facilities, Local 17 represents building engineers. And when these people get these jobs, if this building is built, I can guarantee you that we will be talking to the employees about organizing them and becoming unionized so that we can bargain for better wages than $15 an hour. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary wanted to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mary Stranad.
Steve Scott.
Could you please, Mary Stranad?
Oh, okay. Could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay. I live very close by to the area. I live near 179 on Wabash Avenue in Blaisdell. I am strongly opposed to allowing these LLCs to operate any warehouse for any reason. I refuse to be exploited anymore. Bethlehem Steel not only polluted the air and water, but it lied about harmful asbestos to its workers, then robbed them of their pensions. More recently, we have another group of limited liability corporations, the Great Lake folks, who concealed their dangerous conditions that in 2016 caused a toxic, hazardous chemical fire, doing great harm, including death, to nearby public. Amazon has a terrible track record of nothing but exploitation. It doesn't care how it makes money or what it sells. Back several years ago, a local news report had complained that a prank itching powder was sold online from Amazon that didn't reveal the ingredients, even after many inquiries by the news station as well. It not only harmed the man, but his dog as well. Without knowing what the ingredients were, it was impossible to fully know the damage or help his pet. Why do we need to sell harmful itching powder anyway? Just to make money? Why weren't they required to inform the affected parties of the ingredients? Where is the integrity? Furthermore, all they do is cut into the profits of small companies who can't compete against Amazon's large presence. I thought monopolies are illegal. Third, $31,000 isn't what it's just what the new minimum wage is for New York. That's $15. Big deal. Who could live on $31,000? It's barely enough to support one tiny apartment. Don't go having any pets or any hobbies or get married and have kids. Good jobs. I went to Indeed.com to look up some comments about the warehouse jobs. Much the same. Overstressed, rushing to make quotas, timed bathroom breaks. This is my comment. God forbid if you have diarrhea or some other similar issue, they're going to time you when you go to the bathroom. All they do is have mental hardships of monotonous work performed for 10-hour shifts at rushing speeds. Here's a quote. Treat employees like machines, a robot slave. Then on 1/18 of this current year, One young lady in Lancaster, New York, was forced to take a 30-day unpaid leave due to pregnancy. And then on 1/29/21, somebody in Portland, Oregon, no health or dental insurance. Further support for Amazon's abuse of its workers is an article by the Daily Beast entitled Colony of Hell, 9/11 Calls from Inside Amazon Warehouse by Max Zell and Zaref Payton, published on March 11, 2019, updated May 8, 2019, found that over a 5-year period, 189 emergency calls were made from 46 Amazon warehouse sites for employee suicide or self-harming. I read their report, how they called 911. Another employee had to call for them. I got someone in my office stabbing themselves. The report made me cry. My God, why? You don't think we can do better than this in this day and age of high tech? We got to scum to these low exploiting jobs. How long do you think most of them workers are there for? 3 or 4 months at best? Where will the workers come from when they dry up or kill the unfortunate ones living here? Amazon heartlessly chooses to do nothing except continue to exploit its workers and the next local town like ours to build more of its blood-sucking warehouses. Also, where will there then be violence by these farmed-in people? They have mindless, desperate, greedy people. They're going to cause violence. 6.8 million may sound like a lot of money for any individual. My school taxes increased by that in just the last 2 years alone for less than 500 students. But it is the maximum they want to pay to lease or own. How do you think Amazon founder Jeff Bezos got to be the richest man? I'll tell you, by exploiting the small companies, its workers, and governments to give them cheap lease deals for prime waterfront real estate and tax incentives because he doesn't want to pay taxes. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, LLC. Limit their liability so they don't have to pay for any of the damages they cause. I think we can do much better. It is waterfront property. You know, we don't have to, we're not going to be the first to say no. We weren't. Grand Island said no. If you're that desperate and foolish to go through with this deal, no LLC corporations, no tax breaks, make them pay the full realty price and pay nearby residents like myself disturbance and nuisance fees of $300 per month. Thank you for my consideration.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. Everyone commenting, please respect the fact that there are a number of people that are.
I listened to everyone else talk.
Thank you. And just going forward, if you could try to limit to 2-3 minutes and be as concise as possible. I do have Yomo Akomo.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to present. I am a council representative and a recruiter for the Carpenters Union, Local 276. I was on the call previously, and I am the one who was actually asking on the call about working wages as well as local hire. And I kind of had to change my communication a little bit. I would like to thank, I guess, the management team for striking out the clauses that would allow or bring in outside labor. I think that that's very important. We're in the construction industry, and I do understand and I fully agree with the ideas that many of the works that are out will not solve all of the problems. But I am one of the persons who recruit even the students inside of Hamburg High School. We also present at Randolph Academy. Mr. Prenzing, we presented to their classes. And what we're doing is we're also trying to recruit the workers for the future. And union jobs start off with apprenticeships that allow our young people who might not go to college, who might not, or those who even might, but those who might have an idea early in life about getting into the trades, how to get in, how to get trained, and how to make very good living wages. We have some good relationships throughout Central New York and Western New York, working with some of the Amazons, and we have been allowed to put a lot of apprentices on. So I am speaking in favor of the project. I know that it's hard times in New York, it's hard times in America. I also believe that if we stick together, good times will come. And if we prepare the next generation to have good jobs, I'm optimistic about New York State, and I'm optimistic about the infrastructure plan that is coming, that is going to have a lot of union work. And for those of you who don't understand the process, if we don't have apprentices, if we don't have pre-apprentices, and if we can't train them, they're not going to be around for the large wage jobs. So I'm just asking you, if you can, to help us recruit young people and those who are looking for trade experience and training. Jobs like this can help us at least make a start, and hopefully we can keep on growing more business and more living wage for everyone. Like I said, I don't think this job will stop all of the problems that we have seen in the year 2020 or recently, but I believe that we can make a big difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tom Hosel.
Hi, my name is Tom Hosel. I own the automotive repair shop diagonally across from where they're potentially developing this site. I want to go on record saying I'm opposed to using taxpayer dollars to help out one retailer over another. There's a lot of companies in Hamburg that sell products that would compete with Amazon, and it's unfair to give one company tax dollars over another. The other thing I have to question is Walden Development bought this property. You keep talking about $0 now. I'm hoping Walden Development is paying taxes on this property, even though it is undeveloped. So anyway, thank you for letting me speak. And
thank you, Tom. Next is Colleen Hanna. Colleen Hanna. I'll come back to Colleen. Matt Kent. Oh, Colleen, are you there? Okay, next is Matt Kent.
Executive Director Doyle, thank you for presenting this second public hearing opportunity to address the board and Hamburg residents. So my understanding is we do have representatives still with us from both Bayview Associates and Amazon. Again, this is Matt Kent, New York Foundation for Fair Contracting. Hamburg boy, class of 2004, Hamburg High, go Bulldogs. I do want to just start by saying I heard a comment earlier from the Bayview Road Associates developer promising benefits to Hamburg for decades to come. Is that representative available?
Yes, it's here.
Wonderful. Okay, my understanding was they were open for questions. Yes.
Can you repeat the question?
Well, the premise here is the Bayview Road Associates developer did promise benefits to Hamburg for decades to come. That is correct?
I think the exact.
That was a statement that was made here to this public body. Yes.
But I think we said, I know we said the site would benefit Hamburg for years to come. Was the exact phrase.
I'm sorry, is the representative here? I'm on Zoom. I'm having trouble seeing.
The comment, Mr. Kent, was that the building would benefit the town of Hamburg for years and decades to come.
So this IDA proposal won't benefit Hamburg for decades to come. What I understand is there is a promise of benefits in exchange for 10 years of tax breaks, if I understand it correctly, and not a promise for a day after that. Is that right?
Are you asking me or are you asking the board?
Yes, I'm asking you. I was running with your comment, I believe.
There's a 10-year pilot program that was associated as a result of this application.
Thank you for that. So my understanding is with other developments that have received Hamburg IDA support, we saw this with the Evans Bank. where they collect the full benefit of these IDA supports of these pilots, 7-year, 10-year, and then once they expire, they move on to the next town. We did see that with Evans Bank. We have now seen that. We've heard previous reference to we've heard previous reference to the good folks over at New Era. I believe we do have a representative still, Brad from Amazon. One of the comments I heard was, some self-congratulations, and I do appreciate the Hamburg IDA striking the local labor exemption that specifically incentivized out-of-state work by encouraging the developers to secure out-of-state workforces. I am aware of at least 4 instances across the state of Amazon IDA supported projects bringing in out of community workforce to complete the construction of those works. So I was wondering if you could speak to if this is an Amazon established practice. Should we be expecting any such of this from our community? We see this in Rochester. We see it in Schodack. We saw it in Montgomery. I believe we saw it previously in a proposed to Erie County. But Brad, if you wouldn't mind speaking to Amazon.
Yeah, actually, Mr. Kent, it's really not a question for Brad to answer. It's a question for us to answer as a local GC. You referenced earlier the change that the board made in the local labor policy. We've reviewed that. We've acknowledged it. We've submitted that with our application. We understand what the local labor policy is here. I made that very clear in my statements earlier. We know we have to achieve over 90% local labor participation from Erie County and the 7 surrounding counties.
Presuming no exemptions or waiver requests are granted.
Absolutely, correct. We understand, we believe right now that there's going to be very strong union participation on this project. I've also made that very clear. So in reference to the board, and I commend the board on their swift action to take away that option from any proposed developer. We reviewed it, we considered it, but honestly, what we've seen so far, we firmly believe that we will be well in excess of the 90%.
Will the developer be committing in writing to not be utilizing those exemptions?
There's no requirement. The requirement is that they sign off on the local labor policy as readopted in January. I believe it was January 20th. The requirement that we're putting forth to the developer at this time is that they execute that agreement, and they have.
Understood. I was asking based on the comments that I'd heard if they would be committing to fully availing themselves to not take those exemptions.
Matt, do you have any other comments?
Sure, I appreciate the opportunity. We've heard comment regarding, the possible positive externalities that could come from this project, supporting other local jobs, opportunities. Has there been measured concern for the negative externalities that would come from that? We heard from representatives from Hamburg workers who are going to get a direct competitor introduced into their marketplace. I believe, we would expect to see that as well for Hamburg residents who work for the United States Postal Service. Is this something that the IDA has also considered as the possible negative impact on residents who are existing in jobs that are paying above $15 an hour in Hamburg?
Hey, Matt, this is Andy Palmer, Chairman. I can say something to that is I find it my duty to try to make sure all the board members are fully informed of the pros and cons of this project. And I think we've heard just a lot tonight. So that is our goal. There is no decision made lightly.
Oh, sure.
And we are here at what time is that? I don't even know. 20 of 8, unpaid position because we care so much.
I do appreciate the opportunity. I won't keep everyone anymore. I do appreciate the opportunities. And thank you for all of your service, everyone, and for everyone out here tonight.
Thank you, Matt. Next, Jessica Wichinski.
Hi, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. If you hear my children screaming in the background, I apologize ahead of time, getting close to bedtime. I just wanted to speak today because I am a lifelong resident of Hamburg and I've lived with my family in the village of Hamburg on Robert Street for the past 11 years. I'm asking tonight that the Hamburg IDA reject the tax breaks being proposed to Amazon. At a time where our state and local community are facing budget deficits, now is not the time to give $1 billion corporation tax breaks, where all they're promising us is low-level jobs. These are not careers that are being promises. These are low-earning jobs. I don't know the last time you looked at the housing prices in Hamburg, but I check Zillow on the regular, and I believe someone making $15 an hour would be hard pressed to find an apartment they could afford to live in our community, let alone purchase a home and provide for their family. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a parent with young children, so I see firsthand how our schools need all the tax revenue that they can get. So if my favorite local companies like Comfort Zone and Main Street Ice Cream that have been struggling during the pandemic are expected to pay 100% of the state, local, and school taxes, I don't understand why we would think providing a company that has continued to prosper during these times tax breaks. If Amazon built similar facilities in our region without tax breaks, I don't understand why Hamburg would settle for anything less. So thank you for giving me the time to speak tonight.
Well said.
Next, Senator Shaw Ryan.
Good evening, everybody.
Thank you for joining us, Senator.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for all the hard work. I know everyone on this board, this has been a property that's been lingering around in IDA ownership for a long time. And I know that there's a real goal-oriented goal of of doing something on this land. But I would ask you to hit the pause button. We have a lot of $15 an hour jobs in our economy. One of the things we've been trying to do in New York State, since the advent of the Buffalo Billion, is try to engage in high road economic development principles. No more 1981 talk about we just need something, and to be more deliberate on how we spend our subsidies. I want this property developed. I want growth in Hamburg, but I also want to do it right. And I don't think this project is doing it right. When I go speak to high school kids at the Hamburg Central District or Frontier, I want to be able to say to them that we work together and your tax dollars brought in a nice company into Hamburg that you can go work at and still live in Hamburg. It's not going to happen with this project. And once this project goes, you can't get the land back. So I wanted to talk for a second about the tax breaks. A guy who runs the auto parts or auto store, Tom, talked before. How do I go into Holschur's or any other stores in Hamburg and say, thanks for paying a little bit more this year, so a multi-billion-dollar company can pay zero? I mean, people have worked hard to develop businesses in Hamburg, and all contributing to the levy. And we want them to stay, and we want them to feel appreciated. But it's a very hard justification to make. I could go into the store and tell them why we gave a tax abatement to Ford Motor Company. And I'll tell them how many people who work at Ford live in Hamburg, and I'll tell them that you can't afford to live in Hamburg. But Amazon, we heard talk about this is good because this is a national company. Here's the sad news. We have a lot of national companies at McKinley and Milestrip. McDonald's, Rite Aid, Home Depot, and guess what they pay per hour? $15 an hour. So it doesn't seem to make sense to me of why we're luring this company in, because they're getting so little in return. And, you know, it's so easy to say, well, these are good starter jobs. But Rite Aid provides those starter jobs. The average McDonald's has 75 full and part-time employees, and they pay $15 an hour. So from an employment perspective, this Amazon facility is equal to 2 McDonald's. And we would never subsidize someone like McDonald's to come into our area. So scarce taxpayer dollars, you know, the average salary per person in Hamburg is $45,000, which is closer to $23 an hour. So we need better wages. We need more benefits. But here's also what I want to say about taxes. So I also represent Tonawanda. Tonawanda built a facility. They don't have an IDA. So Amazon came to Tonawanda. They built a facility. They didn't request IDA benefits from the Erie County Industrial and Development Agency. So when they built that facility, they paid sales taxes. The developer, the contractors, they all paid sales tax. And guess where that sales tax went? It was split evenly between every school district in Erie County. So when Tonawanda and Lancaster built these facilities, Frontier and Hamburg benefited. The village of Blaisdell benefited with tax dollars. The village of Hamburg benefited with tax dollars. But now Hamburg's building a facility and nobody else is benefiting. So, you know, we want our parks maintained, but then we're going to waive property taxes for 10 years for a really large company. We complain about potholes on county roads, but then we don't have money coming into the county coffers. So I am extremely willing to work with folks to get something better for the site. I am confident that we could do better here, but it takes hard work, it takes persistence, and it takes patience. So I have just two quick, one's a question and one's a point. Well, actually, they're both questions. They keep saying that this property is assessed, they get no tax dollars. If in fact a private company bought it for $1 million, why isn't it paying taxes?
On the roll. It just went on the roll.
Yeah, just for clarification, it would be subject, based on the value of the land. It just transacted in December.
So if you didn't give any benefits and it remained empty, but a private developer owns it, they'd be paying taxes on at least $1 million asset.
That is correct.
So by doing nothing, you would start getting tax dollars up.
Yes.
And then the second question I had was to the Amazon rep. Help me understand why you need this tax benefit and why you didn't need it to build larger facilities in different parts of Erie County.
Sure. Good evening, Senator. So from that standpoint, first, Amazon as a company holistically evaluates our sites, as I mentioned earlier. So all locations, as they're considered for resource allocations to bring these facilities forward, need leadership sign off. And part of that evaluation process is financial assistance consideration by groups like the Industrial Development Agency here in Hamburg. On the facilities in Lancaster and Tonawanda, I mentioned during the beginning when the IDA chair asked me the question on how we evaluate sites. When the Lancaster and Tonawanda sites were brought forward, we operated our facilities in a different manner. The Lancaster site is a middle mile location. It's a sortation facility that connects our fulfillment centers like the one that's currently under construction in Clay, New York, outside Syracuse, to our last mile locations like the one we're considering here in Hamburg. Those facilities have predominantly part-time jobs associated at those locations because of the fact that their shift times tend to be shorter in nature for our middle mile sites. The truck traffic through them tends to be less systematic, so therefore it's part-time roles on an as-needed basis to help move the product through the middle mile locations like the one in Lancaster. So at that facility, again, we're not able to commit to the level of full-time jobs in order to consider IDA assistance and make the request because we're not able to commit to full-time employment at the location. Similarly, when we brought forth the Tonawanda site, the way in which we operated our last mile facilities at that time was under a more part-time employment basis. In the 2.5-year period since the Tonawanda site was selected, we have modified our last mile location operations to allow for more full-time employment opportunities. Additionally, we have expanded our last mile network by almost 100% in the last year alone. So there are additional sites being considered that this site is competing with for internal resources on a holistic manner within Amazon in order to be moved forward. So from a competitive
all in this area, all in the same area, the last mile.
No, so the last mile considerations are on a business line standpoint. So our last mile network is considering throughout North America how to best allocate our capital resources to expand our last mile facilities. So this capital resource allocation is being considered against other sites that are currently requesting resources to move forward on a project basis at a $50 million level or a build to suit level throughout North America. So this site is not necessarily competing against other locations in Western New York to deliver this customer capacity. It's competing against other sites throughout North America for capital resource allocation to be able to move forward and proceed with internal approvals to be able to expand our North American network right now. So at the time with the Tonawanda facility, there were fewer sites vying for internal resources to be able to move forward. There was also an inability by Amazon to commit to the full-time employment levels that IDA is required to be considered for financial assistance.
So you had no full-time employees in Tonawanda?
At the time that it was considered, we would have had a very small amount of full-time employees we would have been able to commit to. It would have been predominantly a part-time application, which most IDAs will not consider for financial assistance.
So the last question I have is, under New York state law, you have to say why you need the money. And I hear you saying that you weren't eligible potentially for money in Tonawanda and Lancaster, but being eligible for consideration is not the same as need. So is there something particular about this site? Like, is it, are there pilings there? Is there environmental concerns? What is it about this site that makes it so you need this money? And if you could then tell me, what does it mean to you to have whatever, $7 million less taxes over 10 years? How does that work out?
Sure. So from that standpoint, Senator, the IDA requirement is that the IDA benefits are a material factor in the company's decision to move forward with the project. And but for the IDA assistance, this project would not move forward as considered. And
right. So what's the but for? Like,
so from that standpoint, as considered here, as we, as is in the application, this project is being evaluated on a holistic manner. As the
doesn't say that in the application. You just checked a box in the application that said yes.
So the Walden representative mentioned at the top that it is their responsibility to try and present the best opportunity for us as a prospective tenant to move forward with this project. So as we are holistically evaluating this project and need to move forward with an internal leadership decision, but for these incentives, the project would not move forward as considered in the application before the IDA.
But why?
Because it's a material factor in our decision, these tax incentives being part of that holistic evaluation of whether or not to approve this site or one of the other hundreds of sites being considered throughout North America for these resources.
So do we know what any of these sites are and what they're offering?
No.
Is that question for me or for the IDA?
It's for you.
From
You're
that
the one comparing us to others. I'd like to know how we're being compared.
I mean, there are, as the application indicates, and I'll pull it up here and read the section that's included. You give me 1 second.
You have a Tom.
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 people you have not had.
Hey, Senator Ryan. Hey, Senator
Yeah.
Ryan, how are you?
Yeah, hard time hearing you.
I'm sorry, this is Andy Palmer. How are you?
Good, Andy.
Hey, just
See,
so
I
you
don't-
appreciate your comments, but we do have 7 more people just on Zoom alone, so I'd appreciate it, please.
Yeah, I know.
Let's see if we can get the question answered.
From that standpoint, Senator, the way in which we evaluate these sites includes quantitative and qualitative methods under consideration by our real estate team, our recruiting, our workforce, and our finance groups, as well as Amazon leadership on how we look at these locations. So this site would be evaluated from an ability to enhance our customer experience and our an ability to reach our North American customer base. And then from that standpoint, it's looked at from a cost perspective, from a workforce and recruitment standpoint, from our ability to serve our customers at the end of the day, which is our primary focus, to bring the best service to them possible. So that evaluation process is taking in a qualitative and quantitative look by our leadership to evaluate what sites get approved to be able to move forward. And part of that evaluation is IDA financial assistance, such as the consideration here, or similar financial assistance provided by other economic development organizations throughout North America.
I understand the quantitative and qualitative sort of rhetoric, but what does it mean to you? If this 5 million or 7 million, like, does it alter your monthly costs? Like, I'm trying to get a grasp of why this $7 million is necessary. And it's like, somehow we didn't need it in Lancaster. We didn't need it in Cheektowaga. We don't need it in places with no IDAs. Like I don't get it. Like, would it mean your rent is $400 cheaper a month? And that's what makes it, like, what is the qualitative reason for the $7 million? Like, that's why I'm still scratching my head over.
From that standpoint, Senator, again, it's part of what the totality of the project looks like to our leadership as it's deciding to move forward with this project. So that reduction in our operating expenses from the property tax abatement, from the upfront cost reduction related to the sales tax to help this project move forward, that's part of what's being evaluated when it comes to this project versus several others under consideration for this essentially $47 million resource allocation to be signed off on and be able to move forward. So when we're considering it versus other sites in other communities, that is part of the process with which we evaluate these locations.
So would you come build it if we only gave you 3 million?
I doubt it.
I'm sorry.
I mean, from a quantitative and a qualitative standpoint, if we only gave you $3 million in a 5-year IDA, 5-year pilot assignment, pilot, would you come then?
Respectfully, Senator, it's a part of the process that we're looking at, and we'd have to evaluate that if that's how the IDA decided to proceed.
Are you sure the process isn't just you're trying to get as much money out of the local tax base as possible? Could that be part of the quantitative process?
Again, Senator, from our standpoint, we've worked with IDAs who have been able to provide assistance. We've worked with economic development agencies who have provided other types of pilots and sales tax incentive programs that have been in different formats than the one before us in the Hamburg IDA.
Well, I appreciate your answering these questions, but I have a hard time really differentiating between the projects you built in Lancaster, in Tonawanda, in this one, from the qualitative into the quantitative, but I do know it equals to about $7 million in taxes. So I hope you come and build a facility in Erie County, and I hope we don't give you any tax dollars to do it.
Thank you, Senator. And just for clarification, that was not, that Lancaster location was not a build to suit. That they leased an existing building. I just wanted to clarify that.
They leased an existing building, but they did rehabilitation to that existing building. And from my conversations with the Lancaster IDA, they reached out to the Amazon people and said, you know, you gonna apply for any benefits here? And Amazon said, no, this is where we want to be. We're not going to ask for any benefits. So maybe they got luckier, but they didn't have to shed any taxpayer dollars.
Senator Ryan, I can say from the Amazon standpoint, I would say that's a mischaracterization of the conversation that happened with that IDA as far as it being related to the jobs and the fact that this was not as large of a capital allocation request as what is being considered here in Hamburg.
When you say capital allocation request, you mean money that your company is spending to build something. Is that what you mean?
Correct. The $47 million budget under consideration for this project.
Right. So both quantitatively and qualitatively, you built these other places in Erie County with no taxpayer dollars, but now you're looking for a lot of taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Town Board Member Sean Connolly.
Thank you, Sean. The question of whether this Amazon project should receive tax breaks is not a simple one to answer. There are solid arguments really on both sides. On the one hand, why does one of the largest and most profitable companies led by the wealthiest person in the world possibly need a tax break? On the other hand, based on the town of Hamburg's current financial and economic situation, why wouldn't we do what is needed to attract one of the world's most successful and fastest growing companies? What is clear is that this project will advance the town of Hamburg in our goal of increasing our tax base and expanding our economic development. At the end of the day, our town has significant vacant properties that are generating zero tax dollars. It might make sense to give a little over the short term to gain a lot over the long term. This project appears to be appropriate development in the appropriate part of our town at a time when our town could really use new businesses to offset other areas of significant lost revenue. I feel fortunate to have the final decision in the hands of our IDA, whose mission is to help attract, incentivize, and close deals with businesses that will help add to our town's economic development. Whatever decision this board makes and whatever potential negotiations can be achieved, I'm confident that our Hamburg IDA is equipped to make the right choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Deborah. Deborah, are you there?
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
My name is Deborah Kent. I'm a lifetime resident of Hamburg, currently living on Sharon Avenue in Hamburg. And a lot of the points I was planning to address have already been addressed. So I'll just get down to this one and mention that this is now prime real estate since the building of the FedEx facility. And that I believe we can wait for a real tax-paying company that pays honest wages to employees who can afford to live in and raise a family in and pay property and school taxes to Hamburg. Frontier Central would definitely benefit from this. So I just want to ask you to please turn down this deal, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Carol Ogenek.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
I appreciate the time to talk. I'm just going to make a brief statement. My name is Carol Ogenek, and I've been a Hamburg resident for the past 27 years. I'm strongly in favor of attracting businesses to Hamburg and would be happy to see Amazon build a distribution hub in our area. However, I see no reason to offer tax breaks for them to do so. It seems to be foolish to offer tax incentives in light of Amazon building in Lancaster and Tonawanda with no incentives. I've heard, the arguments on both sides, but on looking into the matter a bit, I see no real advantage to our area except for the possibility of added tax revenue. We have no idea what post-COVID will look like, and this seems a bad time to offer breaks to one of the biggest companies on the planet. So please consider not offering Amazon tax breaks to build in Hamburg. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Annalise.
I'm here.
Hi.
Hello, my name is Annalise Biondolillo. I've been a resident of Hamburg for the past 40 years. My husband, 41. We both moved to the area because of the people that are here and the atmosphere that is here. And he has had a business here for the past 41 years. He pays above minimum wage, provides health care, paid sick leave, paid time off, bonuses, the whole thing. And he's a small business. No one gave him a leg up. And there's lots of other small businesses that could have benefited from these outrageous tax breaks. One concern, again, many of my points have been made by previous people, but you're talking about all the contractors that would be hired, all the workforce that goes, even the employees. So Hamburg is the area that's going to be providing all these tax breaks, but Hamburg isn't going to necessarily be the employer of all those people doing the work there, the actual employees there, nor the contractors that build the building. So, yes, Hamburg could be giving out all the money, but the people that are doing the work could live anywhere but Hamburg. And so I don't think it's a fair shake for us. I hope that the IDA makes the right decision, and to be on the record, I am not in favor of this particular deal. I would love to see something less offered to Amazon. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kathy Creighton.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Creighton. I am the executive director of the Cornell Buffalo office. Our office presented to the IDA a full research project done by Rusty Weaver. He couldn't be here tonight, so I'm pinch hitting at the last moment. Rusty's research found that based on the median home values in Hamburg, touching on what I think it was Jessica, the mother with the child sitting on her lap, Jessica said about paying for a home in Hamburg, the median home value in Hamburg is $225,000. And based on the rates of pay that Amazon would be paying, 39% of an Amazon worker's gross monthly income would have to go to paying for a home of that value. Similarly, for renting a one-bedroom apartment in Hamburg, when we did the research on that, an Amazon worker, 32% of an Amazon worker's gross monthly income would go to be paying for a one-bedroom apartment in Hamburg. Essentially, what the IDA would be doing is providing government money to create an underclass of employees that can't afford to live properly or with dignity in the town of Hamburg. Only 5% of the jobs that that Amazon would be paying, and those are the management jobs, would be paying above the median wage in Hamburg. That means 95% of the jobs that they're offering would be below the median wage in Hamburg, never mind the shortchanging of the Frontier School District of about $1.3 million, our calculations show. So this just violates the norms of a rational economic development plan. Amazon also, when I listen to, there's so many Sean's here, when I listen to the Sean's talk, and listen to Senator Ryan asking the guy from Amazon, Brett, about his quantitative and qualitative analysis, it is well documented in research that has been done nationally and internationally that what Amazon does is it comes to places and it looks for public subsidies, and they're well into the over 3 billion. I think the recent report is $3.7 billion in US taxpayer monies are going to Amazon. And I think it is, our research shows that it is not good economic policy to do such a thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I did receive that earlier today, and I will distribute that to the board.
All right, Rusty sends his regards.
Next is New York State Assemblyman John Rivera.
Good evening, everyone, and I just want to thank all the residents from the town of Hamburg, Village of Blaisdell, Village of Hamburg, that's spending their evenings with us here. I'm just going to say a few points. I'll be brief. A lot of what I want to say obviously has already been said, but if this wasn't important, we wouldn't be here. First thing, you know, a $15 an hour job day one is one thing, but without any guarantee, without any certainty that that $15 an hour job is going to be any higher within a few years, without any sort of contract or any sort of agreement with workers guaranteeing that those wages will go up, it means that these same jobs that we apparently need so desperately are paying just as much as the fast food jobs that we're seeing all over. And if we're so desperate for $15 an hour jobs, I know somebody else said it before, I guarantee you that we already have those. If another point is, if Amazon can pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in 10 years after this pilot is over, guess what? They can pay hundreds of thousands of dollars right now. And it really goes down to where our standards are. And if we are not holding a company that is as rich, that is as big, that is as broad, that is as profitable as Amazon, what does it say about any other standard we put on anyone else? I would rather us bend over backwards for small businesses here in Hamburg, in Blaisdell, than give a dime to Amazon. This feeds into the same narrative that we've had in Western New York for far too long, which is that we accept crumbs, that we're desperate, and we deserve better. Hamburg deserves better. Blaisdell deserves better. Western New York deserves better. I'll just end with this. And probably the thing that's bothered me the most about this is, it's clear that you don't want to be in Hamburg. It's clear that you don't want to come to Hamburg. You just want Hamburg's money. And this is what it says in the application. If the applicant is unable to obtain financial assistance for this project, what will be the impact on the co-applicant in town of Hamburg and Erie County? The co-applicant has the ability to handle the capacity that would be served from the proposed project by existing locations and or other delivery service partners, or open multiple smaller scale facilities in the region should the project not move forward. That means you have no interest in employing people. That means you're just looking to abstract from us public dollars just so that you can build a facility so you could be a bit closer. This whole thing of you trying to, this big company trying to be sort of a community, sort of a blessing is just not real. I can see where we in this moment in time are eager to have more employment. But I agree with what so many other people have said, and that is, this isn't the project for that. Frankly, if this facility wanted to be built, it wouldn't be much of a thing at all. But the fact that it's for some reason requiring millions and millions of dollars, being the kind of company that it is beyond me. And it's surprising, frankly, that people still perceive development the way that they do, considering that this is the way development was done, decades ago. So I'll leave it to that because it's been a long night, but thank you for allowing us to speak here.
Thank you. Next, Bill Stokes.
Hey, Sean, I just wanted to thank you for allowing me to expand on my earlier comments and for holding the second hearing. I've known you from the business community, and I certainly appreciate the work you do on behalf of the town. So I'm Phil Stokes. I'm a Hamburg resident and a local geologist. This project that's been proposed here is about 1 mile from my home and about half a mile from where I work. So if it was built, Amazon would be my new neighbor. I wanted to say that I support this project, but I'm also really cognizant of the criticisms from elected officials and the fellow community members that were brought up this evening. And I share in these concerns, but I also wanted to share a story with you from my graduate school days at the University of Arizona. At the time, our program was the #1 geology program in the country, and the acceptance into the program was very competitive. We had 80 graduate students, and each student received a full tuition scholarship as well as a stipend for teaching. Now, the total value of these benefits was $60,000 per year. You can do the math yourself, but if all of the students were fully funded for 5 years, this worked out to $24 million in scholarships. And unfortunately, this money didn't come from the state government or tuition. Shortly after I was accepted into the program, I learned that we accepted substantial donations from ExxonMobil. This really bothered me because, as you may know, ExxonMobil basically paid scientists to come to the incorrect conclusion that burning fossil fuels did not affect global climate. And in my view, this was unethical and immoral. So one day I decided to complain to our department head about the arrangement. Our department head took the time to explain to me that, ExxonMobil had done some crappy things, but at the same time, their large annual donation provided millions of dollars in scholarships to me and my fellow students. They also donated entire labs full of computers and software. They provided high-paying summer internships and field experiences, and they gave us access to data sets and technical experts who could help our students learn and become better scientists. So given the fact that my friends and colleagues benefited from this arrangement, I agreed with him. I didn't have to like the company, but I could appreciate the value of the relationship. I learned to accept that many issues cannot be defined in black and white terms. Now, this proposed project from Amazon reminds me of that arrangement. Driving through Hamburg every day, I observe too many commercial buildings and vacant industrial lots to count. I'm okay with the idea of turning one more vacant lot into a warehouse that also generates a small amount of tax revenue. And I feel like bringing Amazon into Hamburg is not a perfect solution, but it's a step in the right direction to fixing our industrial wasteland. My primary concern is that Amazon, I think, will be challenged to retain employees when your pay is $15 an hour. Local employers such as FedEx, Aldi, and Panera Bread all start their employees at a higher salary. We know that low-wage workers struggle to support themselves and their families. And the question is, how quickly will they jump ship if a new opportunity arises? So in my experience, constantly recruiting workers from the bottom of the labor pool makes it very difficult for a business to be successful and sustainable. I believe that a small adjustment in the starting pay of workers would definitely increase Amazon's long-term potential for success in this area. And I feel like it would also make a huge difference in how this project is viewed by our community. So I wanted to thank you once again, Sean, and the IDA for bringing this potential project to Hamburg. And I'm confident that you'll make the right decision here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tom. Tom, are you available to speak? Next, I'm going to go to David Groskoff.
Colleen just joined.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is David Groskoff. I'm the president of letter carriers for Buffalo and Western New York. I represent 2,000 United States Postal Service letter carriers that deliver in communities all across Western New York. What I'd just like to make is the public comment to the board is you don't need this project. You already have unionized, vetted, professional employees, aka letter carriers, like myself, that have dedicated their entire lives, 28 years, to working for the federal government and delivering, working, establishing our homes, helping our communities, and giving to our communities. The bottom line here is when you're talking last mile deliveries in e-commerce, there's no bigger company than the United States Postal Service. The federal government already handles this. We do a very good job at doing this. There's many things, again, when you take into account with, who you're shipping your packages with. And what the public needs to know is companies like Amazon and FedEx, what happens a lot of times is, especially with last mile delivery, these companies will charge, their customers a fee. And then they will come to the U.S. Postal Service and they will ask us what it costs to deliver that package to the same address. And overwhelmingly, it's always cheaper for the United States Postal Service to deliver those packages. So a lot of these companies are just handing off their last mile deliveries to the federal government, to my unionized, professional, vetted letter carriers, and we're making those deliveries. So it's not necessary, number one, to have Amazon come in and do this last mile delivery. We already do it. Number two, Amazon picks and chooses where they want to do their last mile delivery. They're not going to the profitable areas. The United States Postal Service has a mandate to deliver to every address every single day, 7 days a week. Amazon does not do that. We do that. The U.S. Postal Service does that. The U.S. Postal Service has a Sunday contract with Amazon where they drop off tens of millions of packages every week that letter carriers across the country deliver, to our customers in the communities. There's a reason why the Postal Service is the biggest, best postal service in the world. That's due to our wide delivery network. Amazon can't compete with that. Our reliable shipping volumes, which if anybody paid attention this past holiday, companies like Amazon and FedEx, they limited what their customers could put into their systems because their systems could not handle the package volumes that were coming into those systems. What did Amazon and FedEx do? They went to the U.S. Postal Service. They dumped all that overload on us and eventually overloaded our system, something I've never seen in the 28 years that I've worked for the United States Postal Service. We're the only network that has the ability to adapt to this and to handle this. We have high visibility in the community. Continuous growth in communities are handled by the United States Postal Service. If you're, for example, if the city of Hamburg expands, the federal law mandates that the United States Postal Service delivers to those addresses. What is Amazon and FedEx going to do and companies like that when those places expand? Are they going to deliver there? Is it going to be profitable? Chances are, if it's a rural area, they're not going to deliver there because that comes to us at the United States Postal Service. So my point here, just again, there's been a lot of good points on both sides tonight, is in my opinion, that you already have a last mile delivery network. The United States Postal Service handles in excess of 90% of last mile delivery in this entire country. There's no sense of bringing a company in that could potentially threaten unionized letter carrier, local workforce jobs, people that live in their community, serve in their community, and pay taxes in their community. And with that, I'll turn my time back over. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Tom's available now.
Oh, Tom, if you're here, you can speak, please.
Hi, yes, sorry about that. This is Amy using Tom's computer. My name is Amy Blundell. I'm a resident of Hamburg, a mother of 3 children who attend Hamburg schools. I'm a community activist, and I'm also a union member of Local 10 stagehands employees. I just want to make a brief comment tonight about my feeling about this project and the use of our tax dollars to support it. I feel like the culture and the potential of our region should aspire to something greater than the low-paying wages of the past that offer no growth to human potential. Starter jobs mean nothing if there's no opportunity for careers or local ownership. This project undermines local entrepreneurship. It supports exploitation, insults taxpayers that pay their fair share, offers an uninspired vision of the future, and leaves an enormous vulnerability to our community to remedy the land use of a gigantic facility that no one can deconstruct once Amazon decides it's no longer profitable. It will take $47 million to build now, but who will deconstruct it in the future? Who will pay? One only needs to drive down Route 5 to see the legacy of corporate giants of yesteryear. Listening to Brad Griggs gives us a clear picture of the well-engineered machine Amazon is sending to our community. They can outspend anyone and everyone once they're here. They can influence much more than the land that they occupy. Once they have vested interests, they can donate politically, they can control all sorts of things in our community. Sean Conley calls Amazon one of the most successful companies, the world's most successful companies. I ask, successful for who? Definitely not the workers, not the environment, and not anywhere for local culture. What long-term benefits are available? What's lost? An enormous tract of land with potential for continuous increased value as our region continues to thrive. In my opinion, any corporation that is committed to being a strong community partner will not need us to subsidize them. We need to value our community and evaluate the benefit companies can bring to our region. Who ultimately benefits from this relationship? Is there a relationship? I think not. As a taxpayer, I ask you to use my dollars and those of our neighbors to support businesses that will enrich our community, both economically and as true neighbors. Please reject any subsidy of Amazon facility, and please encourage appropriate use of this land that will really create an inspired future for not only the current need, but for the needs of my children and my children's children. I want this community to be the special place that it is and has been in the future for them. And gigantic corporations are not making it happen. Thank you for considering my perspective and for all of your work.
Thank you. Colleen Hanna, were you able to work through some of the technical difficulties?
I think she left. Wrote a comment. She did leave a comment.
Okay, thank you. Jean Hall.
Hi, I just am a member of the Human Resources community, and I've been listening tonight of everyone speaking of the jobs dollar value, $31,200. I also have an issue though with the number of jobs. This is a huge built to suit facility that's being built, and yet we're only offering 50 to 100 jobs, of which only about half are full-time. Of those, only 5 are career-driven. I believe that we can do better than that. I'm all for jobs. I'm all for bringing jobs to our community. But I think we need to do it in a smart and intelligent ways. Have businesses come in that are going to offer jobs and going to be sustainable. And I haven't heard anything about sustainability. We said we have a commitment to these jobs. Does that mean we have a commitment in writing for a certain amount of time? What happens after that 10 years? What happens to those jobs after that 10 years? Are we just going to increase the unemployment rate in 10 years? So those are some of the questions that I have coming through this. Bring the jobs here, but make this piece of land, bring in businesses and allow businesses to flourish that will be here, like Tom's automotive business that's been here for 60 years. We want someone that's going to be here for 60 years, employing people for 60 years, not just for 10. So I say, bring in a business, but with no tax breaks, and let's have sustainability. That's it. Thank you.
Very nice, Jean.
Thank you.
Did you get John Cusack from NYS?
No, I missed him. John Cusack?
But, John, can you just hold on 1 minute? This is Andy Palmer, Chair of the Board. I want to make note that to the last statement, there are clawbacks for any agreement or applicant that we have to the IDA. And if they do not meet their committed jobs, then there's, I don't know exactly what it is in this case, but there's clawbacks in the application.
Yeah, essentially it would be brought up to review for the IDA board. So you could terminate benefits, you could, modify the benefits, but if this is approved and the development moves forward, there would be a 10-year obligation. As represented, the lease term extends beyond that. I cannot clarify, and I don't know to which extent. Beyond that, if the site would ultimately be vacant, we have a 181,500 square foot mix of office and warehouse that is built to current code and current standards. That would be, the current market, the vacancy rate is about 2%. So I would.
By the way, Evans
forward
Bank,
to-
which left our community, we did get that redone, and there's more people coming in back into the old Evans Bank that was there too. So we did repopulate that building when they did leave.
Okay. In similar fashion to the tenant in Lancaster, New York that had left, that building was built. So just some clarification on that. And we had Mr. John Cusack. Cusack?
That's the actor?
Well, you're on fire tonight, brother.
There's another person that came on too, Megan. And then you have a Megan.
Megan Comerford, please.
I'll be brief because so many other people have spoken already and asked really powerful questions. I just had a few that I still have clarification I'm seeking on. Where are exactly the other sites that Amazon is comparing us against? Can Amazon answer that just so we have a better picture of who we're being compared to?
I don't know if Brad is on the call.
Okay. I was just curious to know if it was that financially, that strong of a financial incentive for them to pick this location over another. Who are we being compared to? I think it's important that we look
Brad's
at
still here.
I'm still here. So from that standpoint, this site is being evaluated against hundreds of other locations throughout North America.
So how important is this location then if we're being compared against hundreds of others?
It's a matter from that standpoint of which locations of those under evaluation will be approved to move forward. So there's a certain amount that will be internally approved to be constructed and approved to come into existence. And this site is competing against those for internal approval.
So am I to understand then even if you get this, you may not end up selecting our site, like our site may not be desirable enough to you?
It's part of our material factor of our decision-making process.
Okay. Is there a human factor to that decision-making process or just material factors?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Just material.
Are you looking for positive impact on the community? Is there a human factor, a quality of the community you're looking for? Ownership in the community. Generally, small businesses pick communities that they want to be a part of and add something to it. They look for that human factor. I'm wondering if Amazon is doing the same research.
Absolutely. We evaluate the communities as well as we're looking at them. Our workforce and our customers are extremely important. They're the focus of what we're trying to achieve. So we do look at the communities that we're going into and want to be strong partners with those that we move forward in joining.
What is your plan then to enrich the community that you're looking at? Your plan to enrich the Hamburg community?
So on the locations that we work with as we expand our network, we have a community operations team as well as our workforce staffing and recruitment efforts. So from a recruitment standpoint, we would look to partner with the leadership there at the IDA, with the town supervisor, with the other elected officials that are here on the call to identify locations within the Hamburg and Erie County area to recruit directly there in the community to bring the citizens and constituents of the region to work at our location. We would look to stand up delivery service businesses as small businesses and entrepreneurs to be able to work at this location and handle the delivery capacity at the site. And then from our community operations team, our Amazon community operations folks are tasked with partnering with the community to engage around various charitable efforts in the communities that we go into, primarily focused on STEAM and STEM education efforts around first responders, PPE, around the homelessness or food insecurity initiatives in these communities. We do things like sponsoring different charitable events. We work on device donations, and then we partner with the local schools. We have our Amazon Future Engineers program, which is a K through 12 computer science program to work with Title I schools to bring computer science programs to those schools. And the areas in which we have facilities are priority locations for us to work with those school districts to bring our Amazon Future Engineers programs to those areas. And so we work from that point forward on establishing strong community ties to the areas that we select facilities to make sure that Amazon and these locations are ingrained members of the communities that we join.
Okay, do you know what percentage of your percentage or monetary goal you have for charitable contributions or anticipated monetary contributions to the community?
I don't have that number specifically should this project move forward.
Do you have any idea of the Title I schools that you'll be targeting for your charitable contributions?
I would work with the town supervisor on identifying those in the region.
You don't even know if there's Title I schools in your area?
That's not part of our economic development evaluation. I mean, our economic development teams,
because Frontier
part of
has
the research.
3 Title I elementary schools. You should probably research that. It's an area that could use some help, but it needs a strong partner, not one that's going to use and abuse. I wanted to know too, what was the financial incentive that Amazon was using to select this location? Like why Hamburg? What about Hamburg other than this IDA makes it a profitable center for you?
Well, that's.
I'm sorry, Sean, were you?
I mean, I think as stated in somewhat of the but for, there's a number of factors that weigh in on their decision-making process. So, certainly transportation, labor market, incentives are all material factors.
Okay. I was just looking for clarification because we're being compared to hundreds of locations. I wanted to know what made Hamburg stand out.
Okay, thank you.
And then I also had one other question for them. How much will the landowner be paying in taxes if you're denied this abatement?
I do not know that. Any abatement applied is based on the increase in the value. So the land value, I will report back in the minutes, but I have to follow up with the assessor. They haven't done their assessment. I believe they do that in March. And I can follow up, but that would be any numbers that we are proposed or that are represented in this packet would be based on the construction in and above of the land. So we are talking, the land will certainly have a value of X. That value will not be abated. The value that we're discussing here is in addition to that value of X.
Right, because the amount of taxes they pay in the first year is similar to what probably 4 homes in the village of Hamburg pay.
It's a sales tax generation too, coming off of these projects that people are overlooking a little bit. And also, just as a clarification for everything that goes on with this, and I'm not for or against this project, I just want to clarify something. I did many, many years of negotiating with Ford Motor Company. We have to negotiate our own auto lines and parts coming in. And every 3 years, we have to try to get investments into the company, Buffalo Stamping Plant. Sometimes we make it, sometimes we don't, but we compete against everybody. That's how national corporations work now. And unfortunately, I hear the small business people. I work for many of these small business people. What we do as an IDA, give incentive to small businesses if they come to our board. And a lot of them don't come to the board because they have to go through the process, but we've done that over the years. We've supported small businesses. We supported green energy on the windmills over there for a reason. And that's what this IDA looks at. And it's been a long night for all of us. And I've sat here and I've lived here 66 years in this town. And I know what this town was like when it was 5,000 people at board and there's now 700 there because we can't compete all the time against the other places. So I'm not saying how this is going to go, but this IDA is looking at everything here. And I want the group and everybody else to understand that this is not an easy decision for any of these people here sitting here, because we understand we're giving money to the richest people, but we also understand this developers over here is taking and building a road, putting in a $50,000 building over there, bringing assets into this town. So we have to take a look, not just at the company Amazon and the jobs he's providing, but what this developer is doing over here too. The same as anybody else. If it was anybody else but Amazon coming in here, I think the whole tone of this thing will be going down.
Mr. Reynolds?
No, you can, please.
We are not giving anyone money.
No, I know, exactly.
So we need to stop saying.
That's right.
they're
You're absolutely
being
right.
given money. They're going to pay.
Having a hard time hearing you.
We are not giving anyone money. There will be a pilot, which is a payment in lieu of taxes. They will be paying something to the school district. They will be paying something to the county. They will be paying something to the town. They will pay in full their fire district amount, their street lighting amount, their hydrant amount. They will pay their sewer charges in full. We're not giving, right now, we're not getting anything.
Right. That fire district is hurt.
We're not giving anything. We'll be getting something. For the first 10 years, it will not be the full amount, but we will be getting something. So stop.
I agree with you 100%,
Janet.
Janet.
We're giving
Yeah.
things away.
Right.
And I'm
Thank you.
sorry I'm talking loud, it's so you can hear me.
Yeah.
Please don't let my tone reflect.
That's right.
Okay, let's just keep proceeding.
Well, I just want the public, because everybody's out here talking and stuff like this, understand that we understand this stuff. And Bob, our assessor over here, former assessor, we got 2 union leaders on here. We've got people representing the school districts. We've got people representing the towns and villages here. That's what it's about on the IDA. And we're looking at a pilot and pay in lieu of taxes. I did a 15-year pilot when I was a county executive, a couple of them, right in the city of Buffalo, the poorest neighborhoods. Why? Because it was an incentive to get something developed there. So on that, I'm off. I didn't want to say something, but it's been a long night.
Just as an aside, the current owner of the property, this year on vacant property, town taxes pays $68.91. That's currently the town tax on the vacant land, $1,468.91.
Ms. Comerford, did you have any additional comments?
No, I was just trying to get clarification so I could better understand both sides of the proposed options.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to move into the written comments. What we will do, we will distribute these to the board. We will also have these available to the public vis-a-vis our website with the minutes from the second public hearing. The first one is from Kelly Zielinski. Thank you. She is a town of Hamburg business owner. She's excited, huge opportunity. and talked to the jobs, created an Amazon with the benefits, the construction jobs, the leased vehicles that would be doing the delivery. And then also spoke to the money paid through the pilot agreement if the project would proceed.
Hey, Sean, these are on top of the ones that we already have?
Yes, so you, these, oh, you may have some.
You got some of these, yeah.
You have some, but not,
Do we have to put
I've been
them- do we
getting
have to read
letters
them
up
all?
until about 4 o'clock
I
today.
would just ask Sean, it'd be nice if we heard them all, but if we just post them all as the minutes and
Yes.
include them in an email to the board members tomorrow for the sake of.
For the sake of time.
Some of us
Okay.
have not been home from work yet.
Yes.
Yes, okay, I will do that. And I just want to speak to briefly, just to acknowledge them. Michael Ritchie, towing, he owns a towing and auto recovery business.
Can we get a yay or a nay for each one of them? I'm gonna try and keep track of it.
Oh, yes, okay. So
You don't have to
well, and
detail it. Person before, this person.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
And we'll have the full letters and the packet going to the board members.
Michael Ritchie is in favor. Cynthia Conlin is in favor. Thomas Hetzel, who had spoke earlier, he is in favor, but not with the incentives. David Sider is in favor. Shauna Benzinger is in favor. Joe Desmond is in favor. Teresa Nolan, I believe, she is in favor. Megan Highline is in favor. Michael Sender is in favor. Deborah Kent is in favor of the project, but against the incentives.
Okay.
Annalise, who had spoke earlier, is a nay, not in favor. Russell Weaver is from the Institute of Labor Relations from Buffalo, who was referenced earlier. He is against the incentives. Kathy Muir, she is not in favor. Senator Ryan and Jonathan Rivera, Assemblyman Jonathan Rivera, are in favor but against the incentives. Joseph Biondolio is opposed. David Adrian is in favor. This was a co-authored letter. Matthew and Deanna Braunscheitel, Matthew and Kelly Pokigo, Matthew and Jill Davidson, Timothy Eberly, who had represented as all Town of Hamburg residents, they are in favor. Mary Sternad, who had spoke earlier, is against. And again, we will roll these up and have them available to the board via email and available to the public on our website.
You know, and I'm sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
just want to make a point. You know, a lot of people are focused on $15 an hour jobs. A lot of people are focused on what, in fact, Frontier is getting or not getting. Well, Frontier is a major employer in the town of Hamburg, and more than 50% of their jobs don't make $15 an hour. Starting wages for bus drivers, less than $15 an hour. Starting wages for teachers' aides, less than $15 an hour. Starting wages for cafeteria workers, less than $15 an hour. Starting wages for cleaners, less than $15 an hour. Just to make a point.
A strong reason not to support tax incentives to them.
I just think that that's a great point, but they're not $1 trillion company either. You know, these people got some money. Let's start paying the people what they're worth. I don't want my taxes going for corporate subsidies anymore. And that's what's happening in America too often. But and I want to make a point that all these board members that are here, we're all here on our own time. So I appreciate each and every one of them that are here with me, each and every one of them that are here on their Zoom meetings, and for the people that came today on their own time, and the people that are still here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Does anyone have any further comments for the first time? Any further comments on Bayview Road Associates LLC for the second time? For the third and final time, any comments on Bayview Road Associates LLC?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to close the public hearing for Bayview Road Associates and Amazon.com services.
Yes.
Thank you, Wentz. All in
I'll
favor?
second it.
Thank you, Norma. Opposed? Thank you to the Town of Hamburg Police. I hope is even less exciting. Have a great night. Motion to close the February 2021 February 10th Hamburg
Second.
IDA Board of Directors meeting.
Give Cam a second.
Andy.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our state and local representatives. What's he still doing awake?
What's he doing awake,
Hey, Cam.
Everyone wants to know why you're awake.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Good work.
19 in the audience. At the end, we had what? 4 in the audience, 53 online. Little statistics that I
We probably be the other way.
Thank you, Cam and Norma.
Oh, hi, Sean. Okay, how can I leave?